All right, we are officially live. Welcome, welcome, and yes, that is right. Welcome everyone to 27 Outs Live. And I have to start it off by saying this because if you're new here, welcome back. As always, I'm Ivan alongside my brother here, Stefan. Today is a very special day. We had already been talking about it for a few episodes now, and the day is finally here. Shout out
Word.
to each and every single one of you for stopping by tonight because today is the first anniversary of 27 Outs. A year ago, on this date was the first time we had ever put content out on this channel that all of you guys are on right now. And the fact that we are here, fast forward to a year later, it's kind of crazy, man, because I don't know if you feel this way, Stefan, but I'm like split down the middle. Like it does feel like a lot of time has gone by. And I told you, for me, it really comes to mind when I look at the amount of content that we've put out. Between then and now, we've put out a bunch. I mean, I don't even know if a bunch is the word, but when I look at that, it's like, okay, we've done a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But when I step aside and it's like, okay, I'm not looking at, the channel too much, it really feels like it hasn't been that long. I don't know
No,
how you feel, but aside from that, how you feeling in general? Today's a special day, man, not only for you and I, but for everybody else who supports the channel here.
um, I'm feeling good, man. I kind of I've taken the last couple days and like reflected on the journey that we took to get here. You know what I'm saying? Because it took a journey to get here. This wasn't just let's put a channel together, let's figure it out. Like I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I might get a 2.5 hour show tonight because I got backstories. We got stories about how this shit came together. Like
Yeah, I was just thinking that, right?
this is gonna be one of them shows. So if you rocking, but we in here. I don't give a fuck. We telling stories and all that. And just knowing like, yo, this was a dream in my this was an idea in my head that that I sat alone with for months before I even called you. This was a thing that was in my head for about 6 months prior to me even making that phone call. Like, yo, what do I do? Conversations with a bunch of different people. And shout out to Rick, who's always the soundboard, always listening, always got some advice, always willing to lend his expertise to something. And this guy would listen to me talk for hours about, yo, what if we tried this? And so it just, I don't, man, we here. You know what I mean? And a year doesn't feel like a year, if that makes sense. It feels like we just got here, but it also feels like, damn, it took us a minute to get to this year. You know what I'm saying? Because of life. Life happened, circumstances happen, people separating, shit becomes like, you know what I mean? Like, this ain't just like a thing we do just for fun. Like, I just I'm so thankful to everybody that stops by here each week and each time we hit these mics, and you guys are rock stars and we love y'all. But this is this is us a real feeling for me because, be honest, most YouTube channels don't even get to this point. You know what I'm saying? You know what's crazy, bro? You know what I did last night just for the fuck of it? I watched our very first show.
The first one. I
I
might I might do that myself tonight. Actually, you just gave me something to watch tonight.
dog, yo, I watched the first show and I'm like, yo, niggas ain't know what the fuck they was doing. We was like, all right, we're just gonna pull this out, and we
Well,
had a
you know what it is. I kind of feel like it was a thing where we did know what we were doing, right? And I know we're gonna get into, as you mentioned, Stefan, backstories and how this thing really began. Because what you guys know isn't actually
the whole
the
story.
real story, the whole story, like you
Right.
said.
Yeah.
But I say that because there's definitely a lot of things that happened over the years, and I think that was a part of the reason why it kind of felt new all over again, dating back to when we first launched the channel a year ago, because we talked about it briefly on the show on a couple of episodes. Stefan and I have done work together in the past, and we'll talk more about that later tonight as more of you continue to join the live here tonight on YouTube. But yeah, there were gaps in between. There were years of no contact and things like that. Nothing too serious, but just petty things, things that really should not have happened, especially now when we are at the ages that we're at now. And you look back, it's kind of like, what was the point, and then it's kind of like you end up feeling like now, you missed out on some things, right? Maybe this is something that could have happened sooner rather than now. But then again, it's not good to think like that. And you and I think this way, Stefan, because there's always time, right? And the fact that we are jumping on the time that we have right now in front of us to be able to create this is more important than, I would say, any time that we've missed out on over the years.
Yeah, I try and listen, because I'm a big proponent of, like, we can't go back, right? But I'd be lying to you if I didn't have thoughts about, we left money on the table, bro. Like, we left millions of dollars on it. And I'm not being braggadocious when I make that statement at all. Just please understand, me and this man have been doing this on and off for 10 years.
Yeah, a little less, because we met in late 2015. Like, there was maybe like 2-3 months left.
Probably like 8.5, 9 years.
8 pushing 9. Yeah, I think at this point, I think we're pushing 9.
Like, our first iteration of this show was in college. Like, I was what, 23 at the time? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I had just turned 21.
That's crazy. And to know, like, we done did this multiple iterations, multiple different ways, audio, podcast, actual podcast studios, and traveling from the crib to meet downtown to go, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, damn. And then
so let me say something, Stefan, because listen, today, well, before I say that, we honestly, you guys know that we always come into the show with where it is that we would like to start, and just the topics that we want to cover in general, ultimately leading up to the conversations that you guys want to have with us, which has become a key component in the show, I would say, now in just the first year. Right. So Stefan and I, we started doing work. We met each other, as I mentioned, late 2015, and I want to say, not too long after meeting each other, we started doing some work. Nothing related to us like having our own show with each other or anything related to 27 Outs. But we did some work. And as Stefan mentioned, we met in college. And it was those, I would say, now looking back, that year and a half, 2 years that we spent with each other, while we were college students, comparing it to the rest of my college years, I would say there was nothing that I could say was better than the first year and a half to 2 years of us, just being friends, and all of the time that we really put into, what we all know tonight as 27 Outs. Yeah. But yeah, let's start it up, Stefan. So we started, this all sports show with a couple of our friends who still support us today. Shout out to them. And at the time, I think it was Sports Talk. Yeah. Shout out to Dayon, by the way. I don't know if all of you guys had checked out that interview that we did with Dayon Dunlap. He's got his own podcast. He's done some great things in media as well. But he was also somebody who was a part of that show along with myself, Stefan, and some others. And, at the time I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is cool. But going into, wanting to be a part of the radio station, I was wondering, how could we, or myself at the time, this was before Stefan and I got close, but I thought to myself, like, I want to do a baseball show. And Stefan and I at this point had so many baseball conversations. I say sports conversations. Now, it's trickled down to just like, baseball for the most part. But, we dive into other topics as well. But if we wouldn't do that, that's not us being ourselves at the end of the day. Because if one thing about Stefan and I, we love to tackle, the agendas, but we like to drift off and get into other things that for some odd reason, it always ties to like the original point somehow, right? And if you're somebody
Yeah,
who's into sports, I'm sure you could relate. I'm
of
gonna
course.
continue, Stefan, but if you got anything that you want to share, stop
I'm
me. I'll
I'm
get back to
I'm gonna
because
tell
we
you.
already lived this,
I'm
So
I'm
this
a,
is nothing that's coming off the dome.
right. So this is a funny story because that's what we're gonna tell stories tonight. Me and this guy literally have left hours of conversations on the cutting room floor that never hit microphones, that never made any air, that we just sat there and just talked for hours. And one thing that I remember was we literally sat there and had a full blown conversation about the 2016 like Cincinnati Reds. And at the time, this was like Todd Frazier. This was fucking Johnny Cueto. This was
Yeah,
like,
Joey Votto, I think, was still elite those days.
yeah, like it's. I just, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where we just sat there and we just broke down the Reds, and he kept stride with me like step for step. Yo, they should do this. Yo, they've been playing like this. Yo, they, and I was like, this needs to be a show. We're leaving tons of content on the like in the ethos. Like this ain't even hitting microphones, right? Like we were having conversations about other teams' farm systems and shit, and like what plays will come in, and like the general managers, and like, and you were like, yo, but what if they tried this? And then it was like it became like it almost became like our own sideshow before the actual show that we did. Like our conversations were our own sideshow. Like, yo, but what if they tried this, and what if this team did this, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And
It
it's
was
like,
if now that you mentioned that, Stefan, I'm visualizing those moments again, right? And so we used to do a 2 hour show, a 2 hour baseball show in college.
thank
At the
y'all,
time,
man.
it was also called 27 outs, and it just so happens that fast forward nearly 10 years later, as Stefan mentioned a couple of minutes ago, here we are today, turning 27 outs, what was just a name for a baseball show in college, which is now turning into a brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it, by the way.
Nah, yeah,
But yeah,
sure.
so we used to do a 2 hour show, but just to add on to what Stefan said, we would talk for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half prior to like hitting the mics in college. And then after doing our 2 hour show, which at that point, if you add the 2 hour content for the show, the 1 hour conversation that we had before, that was 3 hours worth of just content.
And
And
that's
then after the fact, we would leave together. That's like another hour. So it was like
oh,
4 hours of just, things that we genuinely enjoy talking about.
and the thing is, right? Like we would sit there sometimes, bro, and at the end of the convo, I'm like, yo, we just left like 8 hours worth of content, like not even anywhere near a microphone. And that's why, like, personally now, I don't call them with nothing deep. I'll be like, yo, I think I want to go here. I want to go here. All right, cool. You know what I mean? How you doing? How's the family? How's everything else? Because I don't want to get too deep into baseball conversation because I want that all to be right here. You know
Right.
what
Me
I'm
too.
saying? Not that I want to be selfish and I don't want to share it with him and he don't want to share it with me, but like we saving it for you guys, man. Because
Yeah.
this,
And clearly we did that for years already.
you know what I'm saying? Like we left a lot of conversations on the table, but I also think the interesting about what we have is I never had somebody who knew what I was thinking before I even finished a thought. Where the shit was like I would get to a point and he'd be like, "Yo, I'm glad you said that because I was about to mention this." You know what I'm saying? And there are times where you guys see it now if you watch the show. It's like he finishes my thought before I even get to the next point. Like he's like, all
Yeah,
right,
and vice versa too.
I'm
Mhm.
glad you went there because this is where I was about to go with it. And so, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful feeling when, and then being able to interact with you guys is the best part. Like being able to share this with you guys and do this on a weekly, on a every couple days basis. Every show we're here, you rocking with us steady. That's a beautiful feeling, and I think I don't never want to take that for granted. You feel what I'm saying? Like I don't ever want to lose sight of, yo, we had 20 people in the chat tonight. Yo, we had 15 people in here. Yo, we had
Right.
numbers in here. And
Right.
because you remember in the beginning, bro, we were happy if we got 7 or 8.
Yeah, man. I remember, I touched on it briefly in our last show. And for those of you who haven't, because I know sometimes you guys miss out on like a show or two. And I could be wrong, but some of you guys, come in the chat and actually tell us like, yo, I haven't seen lately, but, I'm here now. So shout out to you guys whenever it is that you could get to the content. But if you guys did miss out on anything, go ahead, check it out. It's still there. Something else that we are going to start doing, guys, as we continue the storytelling here tonight. I just want to thank you guys and also give you guys a heads up in terms of like what things are going to look like on our social media moving forward on off days. So, of course, you guys, which I hope is the thing that you enjoy the most about 27 Outs is, for example, tonight, the live shows, interacting with us, being able to hear our takes on the many different topics that are going to show up throughout the year. But also, what you guys want to get into as well. But shorts are going to play a big role, for those of you who I know we had one time somebody said like he's got to wait for the wife and kids to go to sleep. Like I get it. We all have lives outside of just enjoying, the things that entertain us, such as 27 Outs being a form of entertainment for you guys. But if you don't have time, right, to watch an hour show, a 2-hour show, however long our shows are these days, check out the shorts, go show some love to that because, it may not be as lengthy as the full show. But listen, that's a way to still stay up to date if you're not watching the full thing. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
For sure, for sure. That's going to be a big part of what we do. And also, we want to grow and evolve for you guys, with you guys, and that's why we decided, let's get on TikTok for the younger generation who baseball's struggling to grab right now. Let's go grab them. Let's stay on YouTube for the people that have been following with us. But let's get on Twitter and let's break some news and
That's right. Speaking of Twitter, I'm glad you said that, Stefan. Make sure you guys, this thing is just getting longer and longer by the show, man. Make sure you guys follow us we have a list here now, guys. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Stefan just mentioned Twitter. The newly created Twitter, X, whatever you call it now, at 27 Outs 3C. All three are the same, which should be very easy.
Should be easy for
you guys to find. And then, of course, those of you guys who are watching right now via YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Today's a very special show, and subscribe if you haven't already done so.
For sure. Now, this, it's crazy is so Soxian for Life mentions the Louis Hill injury, and we can get to that in a second. I totally forgot. Like, I'm totally not versed on, like around the league like I usually am. Because I said, tonight is going to be one of those shows that we free flow, man. Whatever comes out. You guys want to talk about Louis Hill, then I'm good with that. But
yeah.
If
let's get into that because I just talked about the Twitter, Stefan, and we've only had it for a couple of days now, but that was one of the things that you actually did share on our Twitter was the news regarding Louis Hill, and then earlier today I saw you posted something else regarding that. So it's not looking good right now.
No, so if we had to be optimistic, I'd say he's back maybe mid-June.
Damn, it's a long time.
Mid-June, early July, maybe.
It's about 4 months.
About that, yeah.
Wow.
Because he's going to take a whole spring training just to get himself right. He needs about 6 weeks. He's not throwing for 6 weeks. So you're not going to throw for 6 weeks, and then you got to throw and get your body physically right to get on a big league mound. Yeah, we're not seeing him until like June, if we're lucky. My best guess is maybe June, early July. And you hope that it doesn't flare up again because lats and obliques are tricky, man. Like those things you think you got it covered, and the next thing you blew your whole lat out. So I got the same thing I said for Frankie Montas. I'm going to say for Louis Hill. If we see Louis Hill and Frankie Montas by July, that's a win for both New York teams. I don't think you're going to see either one of those gentlemen before July. And if you do, it'll be because they were rushed back, and that's the worst thing you want to do to these type of injuries because this is like a soft tissue injury. You got to let it heal on its own, or it will re-aggravate. So my guess is, yo, we see him in mid June, early July. That's best case
Yeah.
scenario.
The good thing I would say, in addition to everything that you said regarding the Luis Hill injury, Stefan, is thankfully the Yankees have put themselves in a position where they don't have to rush the guy to come back too early,
No,
right?
not at all.
For years, I remember, a lot of fans complaining about the rotation not really being something that is a threat in the American League, or just even something that teams should be afraid of.
Right.
And if you still feel that way now, listen, I respect it. But we also can't, go against the facts, right? And the facts are the Yankees put themselves in a position this offseason to be able to, I hate to say this, but deal with an injury like this, at least for
Absorb
now.
injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, they done a good job of putting themselves in positions as to where, yo, you know what? If this guy goes down, we can absorb this. And so I think you got to give Brian Cashman and the front office credit for realizing, yo, we need about 13 starters to get through this year, bro.
13 is crazy.
No, but to get through a big league season, I believe you need 10 to 13 starters.
Yeah, I agree with the 10. Yeah.
Like and I also want to have 3 in reserve if something does happen where somebody can't make a start because they got a blister or something just not right. Baseball is a funky game, bro. You thought, oh, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna make my next start. Like he didn't think this was nothing when he was throwing his bullpen. He told reporters, it's like, yeah, a little occasional tightness, but not anything I don't that the body is not used to.
Now, what makes me wonder when it comes to the injury that he's dealing with, because as we all know, he won the American League Rookie of the Year last season for the Yankees, right? So
Mhm.
I wonder if the amount of stress that he put on his arm, and it's not like Luis Hill was, doing everything that he had to do to win the award. I guess he was just good enough to the point where it just so happened to turn out that he was the winner, right?
Think about
But
this.
because he had never done it at
Mhm.
that capacity, I
Mhm.
wonder if that's why we're dealing with this now.
Here's the other thing I'll tell you. People say, "Oh, what about the innings he threw?" I mean, it's part of being a big league pitcher. You're gonna throw innings. It's gonna happen. The body, first of all, the body's not meant to throw that much.
No, and that hard too. No.
Yeah, I don't care what anybody says. The body's not meant. This guy lives anywhere between 98 and 100 miles an hour on every other pitch. His changeup's 94. That's most people's fastball. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy he's a different level of velocity. And think about it. You just said something very interesting. He just did this shit just off of pure talent. Yo, I'm better
Right.
than
Yeah.
y'all. I don't know where the hell the ball's going 95% of the time, but if I can throw strikes, I'm gonna get you out. And the thing that I harken back to, do you remember at some point during last season, towards the end of the season, the Yankees shut him down for like 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
because they said like his elbow was barking or shoulder, something was just not right. And I'm like, I wonder if this was a precursor to that. Like, yo, I'm gonna pitch, because it's the playoffs, but I'm really hurting. Like my ribs hurt, my rib hurts, and my side hurts, but I'm gonna gut it out for you guys because we damn near getting close to the ultimate goal, which is pitching the World Series. Because if you remember, Luis Hill did not pitch in that first series. The
Right.
Yankees did not let him pitch in that first series. They wanted to be extra cautious with him. He got 2 starts before the regular season ended. And right there, I was kind of like, something's going on here. I will tell you, when I first heard the initial report and they said like he was feeling it towards the top of his shoulder, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. But now that we know it's a lat and it's not a shoulder, a lat, I'm a little bit more comfortable with because you can just shut him down. You can treat the area. You can do what you got to do because shoulders are tricky. One day he could be fine, and the next day his shoulder just can be shot. So, like, you kind of want to just, scale him back. And listen, I have no problem with it being right now, as unfortunate as it is for them. I have no problem with it being right now.
Right.
Obviously, you don't want anybody to get hurt. That fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Just the idea of anybody getting hurt,
But that's two now. That's because I know you had talked about Stanton and what is he dealing with, the tennis elbows or something like that, right?
yeah, he has. a tennis elbow on both arms. But here's the thing that I'm a bit leery of with the Yankees. I feel like this is the Yankees telling you, yo, Stanton's dealing with this elbow thing. It's like a phantom IL situation. Yo, he played a lot of games under stretch last year. We don't want his legs to be a bit of a problem this year. Let's phantom IL him real quick. Tell you his elbows are bothering him, so
Mhm.
he don't play till June, May, June.
Okay, so you think this is a part of their game plan when it comes to being able to keep staying on his legs?
Yeah, because think about how they worded this. At first, they said he was going to New York to get his elbows looked at, and then it became personal reasons. And now he got a cortisone shot in the elbow when he was in the elbows when he was in New York. He got some PRP injections. So it's like, is it personal? Is it your elbows? Is it the Yankees just trying to buy time for you to, you know, chill and not do nothing crazy? Like you hadn't swung a bat in nearly a month, and I'm like,
Right.
oh, you know, and for
And at
some,
the same time, not to diss like Stanton, but listen, man, this is how his career has turned out. I don't think a lot of fans are, and I'm not trying to sit here and act like Yankee fans are probably wishing like
mm,
bad things on Stanton, especially after the way he performed in the postseason for the team last season. But I think at this point, I think a lot of people have, or they've reached the point where they're able to understand, like, if he doesn't play 100 games, it is what it is. Just suit
bro,
up like 60 to 80 games in the regular season, and
what
that's
I
it.
what I told you, put that man in bubble wrap till we get to August.
Yeah, right.
I don't even want to see him on the field. I don't even want to see him in the bat rack. I don't want to see him hitting below the stands. I don't want to see him. Let that man chew gum, eat seeds, and drink Powerade all day until August 1st. I don't care how you got to IL him. He got tennis elbow. This elbow feels like it's about to fall off. I don't give a fuck what you got to do. Just make sure that big man is ready when it says October on the calendar. I don't care about nothing else. Like, it's the same thing with Luis Hill. I can see the Yankees going, you know what? We got the rotation depth to withstand this. He's still very young. There's no reason for him to throw that many innings. Yo, let's just scale you back a little bit. You know what I mean? Let's scale you back. Because to be honest, if they're healthy, I still think they're the best team in the American League.
Yeah, yeah.
So like you have to think, health. Health is a huge part of this. And the Yankees know, like, sometimes you just got to manipulate the system, dog. Like, all right, you ain't all the way right. All right, let's get you an MRI. Let's get you, make sure you're right, and let's shut you down if need be.
See, but here's the thing in the case of the Yankees, and I would say probably every other team that's not named the Los Angeles Dodgers, because unlike the Dodgers, they were, well equipped enough to the point where they didn't need all hands on deck, right?
No,
But, since the topic of conversation right now is the Yankees, I don't think I could say the same about the Yankees, and I know it's still very early, hoping for the best when it comes
right.
to both Stanton and Luis Hill. But both of those guys, let's say later in the season not being available, I'd say come September or even
Mm-hmm.
for a serious playoff push in October,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a serious issue then.
And that's why I'm on some, if they don't pitch and play till July, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they got enough to hold us down. Don't rush either one of these brothers back, because that could be your season. You ain't dealing. And I don't mean to be the guy that's just regurgitating and pissing people off, but that's why you needed another bat. You needed one, and you didn't get it. So now, if Stanton's not ready in June, July, August, you're fucked. You know what that means? People stop pitching the Judge. Now Cody got to be great. Now Goldschmidt, you got to hope finds the fountain of youth. You got a lot of question marks. This is why I don't care what nobody says. I don't believe nothing the Yankees tell me. Can I just be? I don't believe nothing none of these teams tell me. Oh, we're going into the season with this team. We're going into the season. Nigga, I don't believe nothing y'all tell me. Would it surprise me if we wake up in a week and the Yankees mysteriously acquired Nolan Arenado or Carlos Correa? No, it would not.
No, it wouldn't
It would
surprise
not.
me.
And the thing is, you know how I know that there's something to this? Because there hasn't been a word said about Carlos Correa. Only I brought it up a few times. Joe Sherman has mentioned it, but nobody with the Twins is talking. Nobody with the Yankees will say anything. And that's when I think they really get to work. Because Cash likes to work in the cloak of darkness. Like, yo, hold on, bro. Y'all talking too much. Shut the fuck up. I got work to do. Right?
Mhm.
Like, I think he knows I can't let this Waldo Cabrera fight. I can't. I can't. DJ LeMayu hurt his calf running up from the dugout steps the other day.
Yeah, I was actually reading about that earlier today.
Are you kidding me? There's no
So
way.
here's my thing. So I could see the bat that you speak of, whether it's Correa or not, I don't know. But will they add another bat at some point this season? Absolutely. I think you have to, especially if you're going to consider yourself the favorite in the American League to reach the World Series yet again.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't, because I know you said in a previous show that you could see it happening between now and opening day, but
Yeah.
that's where I kind of like step away and I'm like, well, I don't see that because I could genuinely see the Yankees being okay with what they have right now, and then later in the year making the move that you speak of.
Well, I can see it too, but I think this caveat plays a part. Stanton, you don't know what's up with Stanton because he's not even in Tampa. He's back in New York for what they're terming personal reasons, which Aaron Boone refused to get into at any point over the last week to 10 days. Which leads me to believe he's dealing with something that's beyond baseball. That's not just something you know what I mean? There's like some family stuff going on that we're not privy to. And I don't even want to know what it is. I'm not going to speculate because that's just one man's business. But the reason why I'm going to tell you I think there's a sense of urgency, Brian Cashman knows. He knows. He looks at Judge. He looks at Cole. He looks at Goldschmidt. He looks at guys and he says, the roster's really old.
Yeah.
I got to go right now. I can't wait till middle of the season. Because you know what happens mid-season? Shit gets more expensive, right? So that's why I kind of like that they're quiet. They're hunkered down. They're bunkered down. They're not talking to the media. Like, you try to get in touch with anybody with the Yankees right now, it's like a force field. No, 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 no. We're not talking to y'all. If
We
there's
did
something...
enough talking during the offseason.
Right. Like, if there's something to update you on with somebody's injury, we will send out a press release. This one's dealing with this, and we hope to get them back on the field soon. But, like, no, they're hunkered down. And they know, like, we got to get a bat. We got to do it now. I can make the same argument, if I were, a team like... And if you're the Twins, guess what? You got to shed the payroll. Because the cash cow you thought was coming in to buy your team said, skirt, and it's not buying the team no more. You still got to cut this payroll. That's another reason why I think, you got to do what you got to do here, man. Like, and ultimately, yes, do I think spring training is optimal? No, because, you were going up to New York in a couple weeks. Season starts in 24 days, and there's a lot of moving parts, and I get all that. But shit got to get done.
Right.
Like, and it's the same thing for teams. Like, to me, I would make the argument that the Mets are not going to do this. We know they're not going to do this because they told us they're not going to do this. Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea are their two key pitching acquisitions when they get back from these injuries. They're not going to get pitching. They're not going to acquire no realistic options. Dylan Cease is out. Michael King is out. They're not doing any of this, right? They're going to wait for those guys to come back, and then we're going to see what happens, middle of the season.
And then we're gonna have the same conversation all over again that we had about a month ago or so.
All right. And then when we have the conversation, then you can rightly criticize that was a fucking stupid idea.
Right, yeah.
You can say that at that point, but till then you can't say much. And I think what we have to realize is Brian Cashman has a different level of pressure than David Stearns does. I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, yeah.
you just got to the World Series with an aging roster. You don't know if you're going to get back anytime soon. Like, we could say they're the best team in the American League, but who's to say Tampa doesn't get hot? Who's to say Houston doesn't have a monster year? Who's to say one of the West Coast teams? Because that American League West, which we're gonna get to like next show, Texas gonna be here. The
Yeah,
Rangers gonna
it's
be
funny
here.
you mentioned the Rangers because I was actually going to mention them when I heard you mention the AL West. They dealt with a lot of injuries. And listen, whether they're as good as the
See,
team that won the World Series a couple of years
see,
ago is
see what
besides
I'm
the point.
see what I'm talking about. Finishing my sentence. See that shit?
Right. But the Rangers, if they're healthy, that's a good team, man. Like that lineup is they've got some guys, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Evan Carter, Adolis Garcia. They got some hitters in that lineup. And if those
What
guys are
my
healthy,
my
there'll
boy
be a problem. Yeah.
my boy White Langford.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're gonna be right up there in the midst of things with the Astros,
Oh
along
yeah,
with the Mariners, looking down at everybody else.
oh yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm not disqualifying the Astros either. I looked at that Astro team earlier today. I was like, Christian Walker is not a bad, not a bad move.
So here's my thing with the Astros, right?
I
And
just
for
don't
me,
know
it took
if
a
they
while.
have the pitching. I don't know if they have the pitching get through a full season. That's
Right,
my thing. It's like the offense is going to score runs. They're going to score run. Can they pitch
right.
though?
So with me, this is my thing with the Astros. Are they a team that I believe I should say is going to finish above 500? Yes. But here's my thing. When I say that, that's not because I view them as the mighty Astros that they were for as long as they were.
Right,
And the reason why I say that, they lost a lot of guys. Now, I know they've been able to make it look good still over the
right.
past couple of years. But
Mhm.
when you go down the list of names that they've
Oh my
lost, their
goodness.
core is basically gone.
Bregman's
Bregman,
no longer there.
gone.
Correa's gone.
Springer, gone. Correa, gone. Verlander's an older guy, but he's now gone.
He's in San Francisco now.
Like,
Yeah.
it's literally just Jose Altuve and anybody else who got a taste of what it felt like to win towards the end of that run. But everybody else that was right in the midst of it, they're all
Mhm.
gone, bro. It's just Jose Altuve all alone.
Jose Altuve in left field in that ballpark is going to be something that's going to be something to see. That's interesting.
He's lucky it's in that ballpark, I should say, at his age, because, he's got that wall where if you have to hit it high enough to the point for it to be gone, right? Which we see it happen all the time in that stadium.
Right.
But if it's not hit high enough, and let's say it ricochets off the wall,
Right.
Jose
Right.
Altuve seems like the type of player, because he's got some legs, even though he's getting up there in
Nah.
age.
Yeah.
He knows what he has to do out there. But had it been anywhere else, I don't know.
Like I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I want to see if he has the range
Right.
to come in on balls. Like, can you play the corner? If a ball gets down the corner, can you play it?
He's entering his age 35 season, by the way. So that's something worth keeping in mind. Still a hell of a player. I mean, Jose Altuve has been good for a very, very long time. Like before the names I had even mentioned a few minutes ago, Jose Altuve had already put in some serious time.
Equity, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I get moving for Bregman. I don't get moving for fucking anybody else. I'm going right back to second base. Somebody get their lumbering asses out here. I ain't doing this shit.
But you know what I would say in to credit Jose Altuve in this case is that's how much winning means to him, though, because there's really nothing else that comes to mind other than saying that. Because I mean, look at the amount of times the guy has won. Look at the amount of times the guy has made it to the World Series. Like he's won an MVP. Like he's done it all. So he could have easily told the Astros, like, me? You want me in left field? Like, I'm only a second baseman, and I'm about to be age 35 now? I'm not going any damn where. But
and I don't blame him if he said that. That's
I
why
think he's a winner, and he wants to see what else the Astros could do.
Here's my this is why this comment is super accurate. He's lost right now. I just spoke Chinese to this man right now. Yes, Reza, Jose Altuve is gonna be in left field this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, you seen it, yo? Because I can literally see his face. Like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yo, just like,
I didn't
yo.
believe it at first when I heard things about it in the offseason because I was like, maybe Altuve's a guy who's going to put his foot down and just remain at second base. But it seems like he's just going along with the wave. And we have to know Jose Altuve, who was once a second baseman, now as an everyday like left fielder, which sounds
That's
weird.
crazy to say, bro.
Yeah.
That is insane. That is an insane thought to even fathom. Like, and I get being a team player. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be a team player. All that is true. All that is great. But I'm 35, bro.
And that's funny. He said he's ruling the whole squad out. I'm almost there, Rick. I kind of want to
It's
see how the season plays
I'm
out.
gonna tell you defensively, they're gonna be a disaster.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
Between
sure.
between him and left field, this guy Isaac Paredes playing third.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's ugly. But they're gonna score a shit ton of runs. They're gonna score a shit ton of runs.
Yeah.
But it just feels like you tried to get too cute with the creative, and you didn't really realize like if we do this, this fucks this up. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Isaac Paredes is playing second base. I don't even think he's playing third. I think right now they have Isaac Paredes scheduled to play second base.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, no shade to the Houston Astros or the fan base,
No,
but
but like that,
if you have been a fan for some time, I guess it's safe to say that it was fun while it lasted.
and not to be that guy, because I want to be that guy tonight on this show. There's a clip right now. It's in the ether on YouTube where I point out, yo, this is it for them. When you're like, nah, I think they could get to the championship series again.
Last season, yeah.
I stood on my convictions and I said, nah, it's over.
Yeah.
Because you looked at how they were trying to get this to you know what I mean? Like it just felt like it was a struggle just to get them there.
Oh,
like,
the other name I forgot to mention too. No more Kyle Tucker as well.
No.
Kyle Tucker played a huge role on that team. I can't believe I forgot to mention his name, but that was another huge loss too, man. We're talking about Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman no longer in that lineup, no longer to bring the defense that they bring on that side of the ball. It's just insane, man. Listen, Christian Walker is cool to have. This guy is cool to have as well, but you can't really make up for what Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker bring.
And they're going to pitch Alvarez different because of that.
Right. Less threats in the lineup.
There's not that many threats in that lineup where they're going to intentionally walk this dude. No. You're not going to get up here and kill us. Hell no. No way. And ultimately, I'm going to keep it a buck. Like, this is why I'm thinking they got too cute, right? Like, you got too cute. And the reason why I say that they got too cute, it's really simple. Alex Bregman's one of your franchise cornerstones. You do whatever you do to bring him back. Jose Altuve damn near told you, yo, I'll switch positions to be the best team player I could possibly be.
That's why I still can't believe that he's okay with it.
Right.
Because I thought it just would have been a thing just to, retain Alex Bregman at third base.
Right, for sure. And the fact that this is like, I'm like, yo, bro, I did all this and you didn't even bring Bregman back. I'd be pissed off. I'd be a little upset at that. And honestly, I would look at ownership's commitment to winning. Are you really that stubborn to the idea, well, I don't want to give out, multi-year deals? This ain't anybody you giving out a multi-year deal to. This is Mr. Astro. Like, what? Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
We gotta get to these comments, man. We're getting a lot of love in here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much.
Shout out to my sister. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Got a couple more in here. We gotta get to these. Reza says Mauricio Dubon's playing second. Like, Yeah, we're sorry about Luis Hill too, bro. Like, I'm sick as a Yankee fan. Like, that sucks. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Shout out to my mom. That's my mom
That
right there.
is that is appreciate the love, man. Like I said, man, this shit don't even feel like we've been doing this a year, but it
Hmm.
also feels like we've been doing this for a long damn time at the same time. Like,
Yeah, man. Of course.
I'm kind of conflicted. Sorry, guys, we're gonna be jumping back and forth between actual baseball and memories and shit. But
Right.
yo, it hit me earlier today, bro. I remember, I
You
story,
want to
but
start a story? Go ahead.
yeah, this is this is funny.
Celebrating Applebee's. I I mean, we celebrated. Oh, by the way, it's funny she brings that up. I didn't actually say cheers to you guys, but for those of you who have been paying
Salute.
attention here to previous shows over the past week or so, we knew about this. We knew that we were gearing up for this day, and it's finally here. But this is not what I usually have in this mug here, just to kind of let you guys know. So I told you guys to grab whatever it is, that you like to drink as well,
Nah,
whatever it is
man.
that you like to eat, pour it up. But yeah, cheers for that.
Salute to you,
Mhm.
man.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, I know you guys are probably wondering, like, oh, what are these two things here? These are balloons, man. Listen, I'm gonna sound like a broken record tonight, but tonight is a special night. Not just a special night, but a special day.
Yeah, man,
Nah,
for
on a
sure.
serious note, shout out to my mom for this stuff. Like she got it, as a way to honor the fact that 27 ounces a year old, not really a year old, but you know what I
Nah,
mean.
man, nah. This iteration's a year
If
old.
this yes, the visual aspect, right, and that's very
Yeah.
important. Speaking of storytelling, let's go
Mhm.
back to a story, Stefan.
Go
So
ahead.
before I get into that, make sure you guys follow us on. Let's go through the long list together, guys. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at 27 now 3C. And make sure you guys thumbs up the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well.
For sure, man.
Um, so yeah, the visual aspect of 27 outs, yeah, that's only it's kind of crazy because I feel like that's something that should have been done a while back. And the
Mhm.
reason why I say that is because at that point we had already, done some work for a few years together, right? We had a few years under our belt. And it's a little surprising now that I look back, like there was never any visuals. Everything was just audio,
Audio, yeah.
audio, and more audio. And for those of you who were able to enjoy the content then, because we know some of you guys still support us today,
Hmm.
but it's very different, very different. Like at
Yeah,
the end of the day, there's a lot of similarities, especially because it's still you and I, and when you
right,
consider the name of the show. But outside of
right.
that, a lot of things are new, like the chat. This is brand
Nah,
spanking
yeah,
new.
this is the chat
You
is a
know,
different element. Yeah,
being
man,
able to
for sure.
show our faces, that's something new because for a while, going back to when we first started doing work together, it was just this thing right here. Like it was
That's
this and this
crazy.
only, and our
Wow, man.
voices. So for those of you who are, learning about that for the first time when it comes to the 27 ounce brand and knowing about myself as well as Stefan, it wasn't always like this. I'll tell you that
Nah,
much.
it's the beautiful thing about this is right. Like, and I'm gonna. The beautiful thing about this is an interesting story that I'm about to share because I remember the night I called you. All right, the night I called you is very important to me because that is the night that I officially, you know, said, "All right, fuck it, I'm presenting this to him." And at the time, your son wasn't even born yet. This was pre, Lorenzo. So we knew that he was coming and he was going to be a gift, and like that's a beautiful thing. Fatherhood is beautiful, man. So shout out to you for experiencing that. But that was one of my reservations. It's like, yo, this guy's about to be a dad. I don't know how he's going to take this full time schedule, like baby waking him up at 4 at night, and I'm asking this dude to give me an hour, 2 hours, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I just remember um just not that I was afraid to call you, but you know that when you have those moments where it's like, should I call him?
I would say now that you are saying that, Stefan, you had the right thought process. Like the thoughts that were in your mind and why you hesitated to reach out in the first place. I think you have to think that way when you're dealing with somebody like me at the time who
Yeah.
first time dad, I gotta, tap into like a brand new sleeping schedule. Cause
Yeah.
like you said, my son waking me up at that time, no
Yeah,
more. He
man.
sleeps like
Oh
the
God.
baby that he is, or should be, I should say. But for those of you who have kids, the first it may vary, but for me it was the first 4 months, man. It didn't bother me because that's what they need us for at the end of the day. But if like it's nothing compared to having
What?
a 1 year old, a two
Oh,
year old, or a toddler, I
yeah,
should say.
man. It's so that was my reservation. My reservation for calling you was just on the fact that like, yo, I don't know if he could take this on. Like, I don't know if he can do this. I don't know where he is mentally. I don't like when I heard when you told me, yo, my girl's pregnant and I'm about to be a dad, and because I ran into we still would speak. Like I would check on you, you call me, I text you, it would always be a thing. And I'm like, yo, should I call him? Because I didn't want to be the one that, brought you an unrealistic dream. Like I didn't want to be the guy that says, yo, try this with me, and you know what I'm saying, and you just weren't ready to do it just because mentally you just having a kid changes things. It changes, and I thought about that. And I just remember having two conversations. I'm letting the cat out the bag, y'all. Ain't no secrecy. I remember having two conversations. I had one conversation with Rick, who's in the chat tonight. So shout out to Razor for listening to all my bullshit and getting me through and putting it all together. I called him. He's like, hey man, if you feel it in your heart, you gotta call him. If this is something that's deep down in you, you gotta call him, and you can't be afraid to tell him what you want to do. I had the same conversation with my mom 2 days later, and I got the same response. Bro, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't look at my phone 2 or 3 minutes before I even dialed your number. I was looking, and for the first time, I felt nervous before I made a call. Because this wasn't just, yo, let's just start a baseball show and let's just do this together. Nah, I'm talking about business. There's money being made. There's hours of content that has to be created.
Yeah, this was a whole different approach actually compared to what we did back then.
And remember, and the first thing I said to you was, yo, you sitting down? You got a minute? Like, I'm gonna throw something at you. I'm preparing you for what this is about to be. And I told him, I said, yo, I got an idea. Bring back 27-ounce visual, YouTube exclusive. Getting these numbers up, running into space. What do you want to do? And I said to him, I said, yo, this first couple of years are gonna be rocky, man. But if we come out the other side, we might run this shit. And you're like, give me a couple days to think about it. Because I remember that vividly. I'm like, oh shit. When usually somebody says, yo, give me a couple days to think about it. You're like, oh, this nigga about to tell me no.
Yeah, that leaves room for it to still be a yes or a no.
And so the whole time I'm thinking, all right, I gave it a shot. I called them. You know what I mean? But it's not going to happen. So I called Razor back. He said, give him time to think about it. But you know what gave me a glimmer of hope? He said, yo, if we were to start, when do we hit the mics?
Mm-hmm.
And I said,
that's important too, right? Because knowing what you're getting into is one thing, but start dates and how frequently you have to upload, all those things are also important as well.
So I literally, when we left the conversation like that, the last thing you asked me was, yo, when do we hit the mics? What does this look like? I said, probably early March. You like, all right, sounds good. Let me call you back. So we left it there. And this is how I knew, this is how I knew it was good. Because usually when Ivan says he's going to call you back, he'll call you back, but you got to give him a couple days. No, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I'm talking about like real, like shit be going on. Like
Yeah,
life
I
happens.
always get back, even if I don't call you back, I'll send you a
So
text at least.
he goes, all right, yo, give me a couple days. Let me talk about it. Let me figure this out. Let me see what's up. And so I waited about, it was less than 2 days because I called you on a Tuesday. You called me on a Thursday. You said, all right, I need to know three things before I give you my answer. The three things you asked me, and this is how I knew I had you. You said, yo, I need a start date. I need to know how much, what are we buying?
Yeah.
The equipment. I need to know if we in this to make money. I need to know what the thought process is. I want to know how the fuck you make work the stream yard. I need to know all of this before I even say yes to you.
Yeah, I wanted to learn. And you know what's crazy at that point, because right now, just based off where we are with the story in terms of years, we are talking about late 2023. That's where we are right now with the
Yes.
story.
And I
But
remember.
at that time, I hadn't done anything related to radio, nothing related to baseball, especially media, right? Like it all boils down to content, media, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It had been a while since I did anything like that. Like I had done some things that Stefan would invite me on once in a while. And I literally mean once in a while because it was not frequent at all.
No.
But because, I knew him and I know the work that we had done together over the years, it was
Mm-hmm.
never an issue for me to have to show up, whether it be, for 20 minutes or a full show, an hour, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was nothing compared to what we were doing once upon a time, which was weekly at that point, or
Yeah.
not even. Well, the content was weekly, but the conversations were damn near daily or like every other day.
So I had him because I called him and Jason Dominguez had just hit a home run. And I was like, yo, do you see this kid? And we started talking about Jason and I'm trying to get a feel for where he's at. And he goes, yeah, I've been watching. And I said, he been watching. What does that mean? So, me and him, we testing the waters and start talking about I forgot who we talked about. Oh, Arizona, because they were hot at the time. We started talking about the D-backs. Really impromptu. Wasn't planned. It was just, all right, let me see where you at, see your head's at, see what you want to do. And he was giving me, you would like, all right. And when I finally got the yes from you, bro, I swear, as you were saying yes to me, because I had my AirPods in, I'm texting Razor. Yo, we got him. We start in March. Blah, 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 blah. This man, Razor, calls me and was like, yo, please don't be fucking with me right now. I'm like, and I remember I was like, yo, let me, because I was texting him. He goes, is you for real? I'm like, yeah, I got him, but let me call you back because I'm on the phone with him. We trying to iron out last little bit of detail. So I'm on the phone with you, and I'm trying to see if this is real or not, right? And I know I'm at the end, like I'm about to close the deal because the more questions you ask me, the more inquisitive you get, the better spot I'm in.
Yeah,
Right?
I had to, bro, because like I said a couple minutes ago, we went from strictly audio to now visuals, and I knew that I couldn't go into this acting like
Right.
I already knew what I was doing, right? Like
Right.
obviously I knew what YouTube was and the fact that you could go live, but you being a person who now has to run those things, you gotta, have a schedule, you gotta
Yeah,
be
yeah,
able to
yeah,
do
yeah.
things behind the scenes before you
Yeah.
go live. There
Mm-hmm.
was a lot that I had to be taught. So it's funny you say that because the questions at that point, I was asking those questions because I was all in. Yeah.
Nah, and I didn't know that, right? Like
Mhm.
you didn't get me yes or no. You were just like, yo, well, how would this work if we did this? What does this look like? What do I got to
Yeah,
do?
I'm gonna be honest. Knowing myself and thinking back at that time, I didn't want to get myself into something that I know was gonna fall short within like the first, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, let's
I
say,
know,
right?
yeah, and
And the fact that, we're here now, a year into the show, just shows that the conversation that Stefan is referring to now and the questions that I was asking then, it all paid off because, I did learn. I learned a lot.
And the thing about it is, I wasn't mad at you asking those questions. I wanted you to ask more, right? Because I'm like, the more he asks, the more interested he is. So, I you know, we tentatively agreed to do something, right? We tentatively agreed on the format. Remember, the format was completely different. We had a 4 topic format for our show. Uh,
Yeah,
blah blah
yeah.
blah, and we were going through the different iterations of what does it look like, and then I'm like, all right,
We were rusty too.
and
So before we actually launched like the first show a year ago today, um Stefan and I had done some work behind the scenes.
oh,
Did a couple of videos just to kind of like get back into the rhythm of things because even though we did some work in the past, that didn't mean that we could just hop on mics and
coasting,
sound like how we once did. That's not
yeah,
how it works, unless you're a magician and you can snap your fingers and just like that you're right back where you left off. Credit to you. We could not do that and it
no,
showed. But even now, right, like Stefan, I know you said it at the top of tonight's show, but I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna listen to that first show because I know it sounds very different. I know what we do now sounds way better than what we sounded like then. And that's not a knock on us or how
no,
the show was originally when we put out the first pieces of content.
no,
But it just shows the growth. It shows the consistency. That's a big word as well, consistency.
yep,
Because I kind of feel like that goes unnoticed, and people probably think like, oh, these guys they just hop on whenever, and they don't
right,
really have
right,
conversations off the air.
yep.
And I'm sorry to break it to you, but you guys are wrong. We do that and we do more because it's not easy. It's fun.
No,
It
it's
is definitely fun
there's
to do this, but it's not easy.
there's times, bro, where there's times, bro. There was times even then that I'd literally be on the phone with you, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing this week? And we'd sit there for about half hour, 40 minutes, 2 hours.
And like you said, that was when we were doing like 3 to 4 topics per show.
And we would, and the thing about it is, I'm like, all right, I get two, you get two, and I'm like, nigga, there's no way me and you are getting through a 40-minute show with 4 topics. Hell no.
Yeah, not 40 minutes. Nah, because if you really think about it, if you choose 4 topics and you're trying to stick to like a 40 to 45 minute
Yeah,
length in terms of show, you're
nah.
talking about like maybe 10 minutes, a little more than 10
There's
minutes
no way
per
we were doing
topic.
that. We would. There's no way we were doing that. But I didn't want to. Thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to present something that was too daunting for you. So I said, all right, let me hit him with the 45 minutes to an hour, ease him in. All right, cool. But in the back of my head, I'm like, yo, watch this first show be like fucking hour and a half. I looked at the runtime. That shit said 57 minutes and 31 seconds. I was like, oh shit, we kept it under an hour.
Right. Surprisingly, yeah.
Because the thing about it's like he said early in the show, we can talk about any sort of topic, baseball related, and be there for like 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, holy shit. So that first iteration was like, it was very challenging, but it was also very rewarding because when you got through an hour show and you hit everything, you felt like, all right. But then we also felt like we were cheating the listeners who left comments and we couldn't get to their comments because we were so worried about getting all the topics in.
And it wasn't like now, that's for sure. So
No,
those comments weren't even half of the
what they
amount of
are
comments
now.
that we
Yeah.
get now. But it's funny you say that because at the time it was a lot for us. It was.
Yeah, you
And
felt like
then now we look at this and it's like, well, all right, over 200 plus
that shit is a
comments or
light
whatever the
night.
case
Yeah,
may
it's a
be. And it's
light
like,
night.
it's a whole lot more now.
And so, like, it just, and to end the story off, when we finally agreed, right? I remember March 3rd was, I don't know why we said March 3rd, but that was basically our spring training. All right, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna do practice shows, we're gonna take the whole month of January, whole month of February, lock in, just record shit. I was sick as shit for like 2 of those recordings. They had to be pushed back multiple times because
Yeah, you wouldn't
I
stop coughing, man.
I couldn't get out of bed. I felt like
Here's the thing with when it comes to doing stuff like this, guys, and I'm sure you guys probably are able to tell
oh
from
my
your end,
goodness.
especially as a viewer. But having a minor cough, it's okay. You
Nah, when you
cough,
hocking every other
every
word,
like 10, 15, 20 minutes, it's not so bad. Or like Stephen said, when you're coughing and it's like every less than like 5 minutes, can't really
nah,
do a show like
hell
that
no.
because you're coughing more than you're talking. And it was that bad. It was that bad.
And
And
that's
that's why now when we get sick, we give ourselves, and we've told you guys before, like there's been times where we wanted to come out with something, and for whatever reason, us being sick with what we have at the time,
I'm
we got
just
to push
not.
things back because, you know, a day or two sometimes is not enough, right? So listen, take as many days as you need because when we get back, we
We're gonna
are
hit the ground
running.
running.
We're not
Yeah.
walking, we're sprinting.
Oh well, in my case, rolling really fast. But
Yeah.
nah, it's one of those things where you just what this also taught me is patience, right? Because when you're dealing with a two-man show, you got to be able to know when he's feeling it and when he's not feeling it and what his schedule's like. And you stepped away for a minute during the season last year because of some personal things and life hit you in the ass. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, damn, first year in this bitch. And he stepped away. Like, I remember you stepping away and you were like, yo, and you were trying to rush back at a certain point. I was like, no, 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 no. Take it.
Right, right.
Like, don't even worry about it. Like, family's way more important. Do what you got to do, and we'll get back to it, on the other end. But that right there was also a challenge because you had to let him go through his process, right? So we agreed, and I remember the first show, bro. I'm watching it back, and there was a point where I was in the middle of a coughing fit. I couldn't stop coughing. I had to mute the mic. I'm sitting there dying. I'm like, yo, first show, this is what we're doing. And the funny thing about the first show, if you guys go back and watch it, this guy starts talking and his mic is on mute.
Oh, you know what's funny? I remember that. I remember that. And I think I said something along the lines of like, oh, that's how we're starting.
And he just started dying.
Yo, you see, that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, even though something like that could still happen today, but when you think about the time off that, we spent not doing work together,
Oh my
me not
goodness.
doing any of this for years at that point,
Holy
me making
shit.
a mistake like that, excuse me, is pretty funny. And it makes all the sense in the world considering everything else that I said, because I hadn't done it in so long, man. And here we are now, doing as many shows as we do weekly.
Yo.
We try to do 2 shows for now, sometimes doing 3, depending on, what needs to be covered. Because when it comes to other sports, there's a lot of days off. Teams don't play every day. So you don't necessarily have to cover as much
Right.
as I would say you have to when it comes to baseball. We're talking about a sport that is played every single day.
No,
Like, I
goodness.
don't know about you guys, but the breaks that baseball players get, those aren't really days off, man. Like, that's you blink and you're already
Look,
back on the field.
you're traveling to the next city. That shit ain't a day off, bro. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so and the beautiful thing about this is we finally agreed and we got to the point, and I'm just glad that we're here, man, because there were times during the last season when you like, is this shit about to end before it even starts? I remember there was a time last year where I called you and you were like, yo, I'm kind of like, I got more questions. I have more questions myself than I have answers for you.
Yeah, it was
And
tough,
I
man.
and I said, holy shit, is this gonna all implode before we even get to the, you know what I mean?
You know, I know why you would think like that, especially you not being the person who was going through those things, but coming from the standpoint of an outsider, right? Like you're thinking about the many different possibilities
And it's not even. I
that could.
wasn't at that point. I'm not even thinking about the show. I'm thinking about my man. Like,
Yeah,
yo, my
yeah.
man is out here. Like, yo,
Because I'm gonna be honest, I knew that I was not going to step away from the show entirely, but I immediately also knew at the same time that I needed some time away,
yeah,
right? But at no point, and I could sit here and admit it now that we're having these conversations and we're able to reflect, thankfully, in a positive way. But there was never a point where I thought to myself, like, yo, I might have to break it to Stephen where I don't know if 27 outs could move forward, you
I
know?
know, yeah, and
Nah,
that's
that never crossed my mind at all.
I see, but I'm glad you said that because at that point I'm in scramble mode. I'm trying to put together shows dolo. You know what I mean? I'm trying to do what I can do, and then we did okay, but it's not what the show was intended to be. But my fear wasn't so much that you couldn't, that you wouldn't, that you didn't want to do it anymore. It's like, could your situation allow you to do this?
Yeah.
Could you give it the time it required you to be here, getting the work done, doing the work, doing what it required on a weekly basis at that point? Like
Yeah,
I
at that
just
point, I think we were only doing like one show
Sundays,
per week, right?
Sundays, Sundays, Sundays.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, man, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Yo, to look back at it now and say, yo, we made it through that first season, man. That shit is a beautiful feeling, but that shit is scary as shit because you just starting to be like, yo, wait, what? We just did a full year of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? You know?
You know what's funny too? So I was looking at some screenshots that I had in my that I still have in my phone from last year, like not exactly on this day last year, but roughly before or shortly after, right around this time, let's say. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe when we first put out our first piece of content on the 27 ounce channel here on YouTube, I believe we were right around 50 something subscribers. I don't know the exact amount.
63.
63. Okay, so
Because
63.
you said it, you said because at Mema, I was like, oh, you were like, oh, we up to 63 subscribers now. And my reaction was, oh shit, we gained two. And we were like
Yeah.
all excited.
See, that's why I said my guess was gonna be an estimate because I didn't have anything for like this exact date other
Right.
than what we have on YouTube, of course, but nothing else like in my albums.
Nah.
So yeah, 67, and we're here tonight with what 174, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
about that, yeah.
174. So we're talking about a full year later, and we have gotten what 100, almost 110 more, right? People.
About 111 because
Yeah.
we started with 63 and we're at 114 now. So that's
Right.
174 now, excuse me. So that's about damn. That's about 111 subs since
Yeah. Yeah.
holy shit.
Ever since then. Right.
I
And the crazy part is a lot of you guys, and there's nothing wrong with this, right? Because if you want to sub at 1 a.m., 4 a.m., midnight, sub whenever the hell you want. There's no special time to sub
no,
to the channel, I must say.
no,
But
not at all.
a lot of you guys came later in the year, right? A lot of you guys came on board after the fact, which is why this is a journey, right? Like we don't expect everyone to fully be on board with this channel and the way we go about baseball. We want it to be something that is not only something that you genuinely enjoy, but something that you really rock with, right? For other than just the baseball content. Like you rock with myself, you rock with Stefan, and
Mhm.
also most importantly, you know, we've referenced it a couple times here tonight, but the chat as well. You guys now have your own conversations while Stefan and I are here just
Shit.
mouthing off about whatever it is that we're talking about. And then we look over and it's like, oh, damn, these dudes been talking for the past like 10 minutes. But we love that. We love that, right?
No,
Like you guys are
it's
now
it's
becoming. Stefan said this before. It's like a family, you know. Like you guys get
exactly
in here, you see what somebody may have said a few
for
minutes before
sure,
you,
man. For
you
sure.
respond to that. So it's more than just you guys interacting with us, but it's more so all of us interacting with each
With
other.
y'all, yeah. And the beautiful thing is, I love the idea that the side conversations sometimes be more interesting than the shit we talk about on the show. I was like, yo, damn. You know what I mean? And like you try to parse it apart because the side combos can be somewhat, interesting and things like that. But um I find it interesting, man, how you can baseball brings everybody together. That's why this season is gonna be interesting because we got so many different markets in here now. Boston, we got two guys from Boston. We got a guy from Kansas City in Shrek.
Right.
You
LA as
know,
well.
we got some LA heads. You got,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So there's all different demographics being represented in this channel. And so I just want to see what their teams do because I want to get their feedback live on air. Yo, what the Dodgers looking like? Yo, what the Red Sox looking like? Yo,
You know
what
what's funny, man? Speaking of Shrek, I wish he was here, man. Why do you guys do this to us? Like, you guys are here one night. No, I'm joking. But the reason why I mentioned Shrek, so right before we went live, Stefan, Mike Moustakis, he is retiring.
retiring? Yeah.
So it's funny you bring up Shrek because I wanted to ask him that. I was gonna say, yo, Shrek, how do you feel about
By the
one of your
way,
guys who helped win that championship for you
shout out to
retiring now?
shout out to Mike Moustakis, bro. Young Mike Moustakis was that dude.
Yeah.
Doubles, good at third base.
Mm-hmm.
It just every time you looked up, this guy was doing something impactful on the field. Shout out to that whole Royal team. Eric Hosmer, Salvi still playing. Lorenzo
Michael
Kane.
Stockis is 36 years old, man.
Did you hear the? You hear the stories of what's going on?
What do you mean?
A lot of these guys are talking about retirement. Anthony Rizzo opened up to the Athletic, like, yo, if I don't get market value, if I don't get what I think I'm worth, I'm gonna retire.
Wow.
Adam Duvall, same thing. If I don't get what I think I'm worth, I'm gonna retire. Like, there's no sense in trying to hang on and play for $1 million a year. At that point, I'd rather just take it to the crib.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of these guys are just willing to play a game that they've loved for as long as they have now
And
for the minimum, you know. And I get it.
and this is why, right? You look at a guy like Mike Moustakas, you look at a guy like Adam Duvall, you look at a guy like Anthony Rizzo, and you realize, yo, it's hard for these middle-aged players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, forget about just the guys who are those guys. It's hard for the guys that are middle-aged who realize, yo, I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning, but I can still help a team. Like,
Right. Like
to
Rizzo, honestly, because Rizzo is what? Let me see. How old is Rizzo?
35, I believe.
35 years old. He'll also be 36 later this year in August.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if around this time next year we're talking about Rizzo as we are Mike Moustakas right now.
Right. And I think one of the things that was pointed out to me was like, should he have accepted the 5-year, $70 million deal that the Cubs offered him a year before he hit free agency? Because the Cubs have offered him a contract, and he was like, nah, I'm not going to get that. But if you remember what first basemen were being paid, remember Goldie had just signed a 5-year deal with the Cardinals for like 130. The first base market wasn't as lucrative as it was in the previous years before this. Like Miguel Cabrera got the big deal, Prince Fielder got the big deal, and both those deals ended prematurely for different reasons.
Right.
But you start to realize, like, hold on. Am I really going to pay you this money knowing what we know about how first basemen age and the lack of range and all those different things? That's a very interesting conversation. But it also leads me to my next point, which is the CBA is going to be ugly. This next round of collective bargaining agreement negotiations are going to be ugly. I'm talking about filthy.
Yeah. And we were talking about it briefly in our chat earlier today. So for those of you who don't know, Tony Clark has basically came out and said that he is prepared to not play baseball after 2026 for however long that will be. And it's great that we are getting into that yet again, because before it even became a thing that was being covered by mainstream media as it is now, it was a topic on 27 outs, man. And that's why, for those of you who have been around long enough, know that we've been talking about it here on the channel, and have continued to talk about it because this is and credit to you, Stefan, because you have been talking about it for years with an S, not just a year, but more than one. And you've made it very clear to me, and I've instilled that in my mind. And I've always given you credit too, because there was a time when I would think that you would say things and I'd be like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? Right. But we've gotten to a point now where, I see it for more than just how I may be seeing it at the time. Mm-hmm. And I try to think of the possibilities that may relate to why you would be sharing something such as a lockout 2 to 3 years beforehand.
So I remember having a conversation with Razor. Razor, where you at, man? Get in here. Um, I remember having a conversation with Razor at some point where I told him right as the new CBA was being signed, yo, we're gonna be right back here in 5 years. Right back here. And he said to me, he said, "You serious?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Why?" I said, "Look at what they left on the table. You don't leave what they left on the table and then expect to come back and for it to be all good. Nah." And now it's a complicated, it's even more complicated because look at things that are on the negotiating table. We're talking about um television rights. Where's the game going in terms of how it's even going to be broadcasted? Uh where are we going in terms of, does the union have one voice, one sound? Because there's a lot of international players in the union from Japan, from the Latin countries, from all these different areas, and it's like you now have to deal with a bunch of different demographics. This ain't just, yo, let's just hear from the American players. Nah, what about the dudes that come here internationally? What about the dudes that are faces of the game, like the Juan Sotos, the Shohei Otanis, the Ronald Acuñas, all these dudes that come from different countries, and you got to sit there and ask yourself, how does this affect us internationally? Because everybody says, "Oh, I think the union's going to be agree with one mind, and I think they're going to have one thought process." Do we know that for sure? Because I don't. I think there's going to be significant upheaval in the union. And here's the other thing I'm going to point out, and I'm going to let you go right now. The minor leaguers are now part of this conversation too.
Right. And for so long, they didn't have a say in anything.
They're now a part of this conversation to where they're going to want to have their voices heard, and they're going to, you know what I mean? They're
I
going
have a
to.
question actually. When it comes to the minor leaguers, and I haven't done, too much research on this. It was something that I read, and this was a while back. I'm talking like maybe sometime last year. It's been a few months now since I saw this, but
Mhm.
I was hearing some rumbling about like Major League Baseball wanting to eliminate like certain levels like in the minor leagues. Is that something that is still a possibility, or well,
Again,
maybe you know more about it than me, but I certainly heard that it was something that Major League Baseball was considering because they don't really view certain levels, how they once did.
all right. I'm gonna remember. This was a conversation on the show last year. You remember when I came on here and said, "Yo, I think there's only gonna be two levels of minor league baseball. There's only gonna be two levels to this because teams don't want to pay. They don't want to allocate resources to four levels of minor league baseball. They don't. The Pacific Coast League, the Gulf Coast League, the Florida Penn League, they don't want to do this. That's waste. They're wasting money. So what's going to end up happening is, I believe they're going to get rid of AAA and AA altogether. Ultimately, what I think is going to end up happening is
Wow.
you're going to take the best college players and the best high school players and the best who's available, and you're just going to tell them, listen, we all start on equal footing. If you put up the certain numbers, and we're going to put everybody on the same field. If you produce at a high level, you're going to make the big leagues. They have already openly said that the minor league system as we know it is over because they're hemorrhaging more cash. But the thing that does do, if we could talk about it from the other perspective, is it hemorrhages middle America. Because the middle America, like the small towns, the Charleston, South Carolinas, and all these towns like the
Right. They
Omaha.
love going to minor league
You
games.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? And what it does is it generates revenue for the town, for the city, for small towns in Ohio. You had the Columbus Clippers that were the Yankees affiliate. Now they're with the Guardians. Like, you have many affiliates now that are going to be affected by this. And I wonder if the next round of collective bargaining goes where it's like, yo, minor leaguers, y'all have a say, but y'all not gonna tank this whole thing. Because I remember last CBA, there was infighting amongst the players. Like, yo, Y'all minor leaguers, y'all need to shut the fuck up. Y'all ruining it for us. Did I tell you the story of how the minor leagues hired their own player representative? And they wanted to fire Tony Clark. They were taking votes amongst themselves during the last CBA. Tony Clark almost lost his job. Nobody reports on this because, it's too taboo. It's too taboo. You can't. I'm here to tell you, they took a vote, and Tony Clark almost lost his job. Like, there was a point during the last CBA where they had a marathon session at Roger Dean Stadium. This is where the Cardinals play. Ask me why I know this. I don't know. And I'm sitting there, and it's about roughly 2:30 in the morning. And I got a text from somebody who said, I think Tony Clark, I think this is his last night as running the PA.
Wow.
I think he's about to lose his job as early as the morning, right? And you had Scherzer in the room. You had Verlander in the room. You had Rizzo was in the room at the time. There was a bunch of guys in there, and these minor leaguers were pushing hard for, he speaks for y'all, but he don't speak for us.
Right.
Because he doesn't value our constituency. We're playing for $400 we're paying for $400 a month.
Yeah, they make less than like what it would be working like a minimum wage job full time.
So when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, hold up, there's a real upheaval here, because guess what? Now you're talking about the international players that don't speak English, that want their voices heard. So now you have a Spanish representative that is in this room trying to get everybody to agree. Motherfuckers can't figure out what they want for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And you want them to agree to what's happening right now? With billions of dollars on the table? I see you in 2028. That's
2028.
Exactly. Yes.
Wait, so you think there will be no baseball in 2027?
None at all.
Wow.
You got to understand what we talking about.
Here's my thing though too, right? So as much as I don't want to see that, I'm not against there being the possibility of this taking up at least half of the season. But let me ask you this. What do you think would be, I would call the cutoff point in terms of when you call the season?
So
like if you don't have something, and we don't have an answer, but I think this is great to get into, right? Because if we're talking about a full season, like we're so accustomed to 162 plus games, right? We're talking about the possibility, I should say, of there being zero.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, what's that cutoff point? When do they call the season? Like, if we don't come to a decision by, like, I don't know, July, it's a wrap.
I want to tell you, if it's mid-July, early August, and there's no games being played, season's over.
Oh, by August, absolutely, yeah. Because what the hell are we doing?
But here's what I'm going to tell you: the reason why I think the season's already over and we're not even there yet, you got a full year to negotiate this thing, and you're not even sitting down at the table. What? It's not even December of 2025, and you are not willing to even negotiate this thing.
That's an interesting comment there, by the way.
What, Emilio?
Yeah. So the 2027 part, I get, but why? Do you feel this way too, Stefan? But why no 2028?
I'm going to tell you why, right? Because I don't think these things can be resolved in a year. I don't, because I'm dying, right? The channel would suffer if these fools don't figure it out. Right?
You know what? You mess around and you say that. What if 2027 just so happens to be like one of our best years? Somehow, some way.
Right.
You never know.
So what I'm saying is, it's like, yo, dog, the reason why I'm saying this is because look at them now, bro.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even tackling all right, fuck it. There's no limit on the show. We're gonna go as long as we want. And
take it, bro. Go ahead.
When we done, right? Like, usually we say keep it 2 hours, but fuck it, we here, right? Like, we're gonna have a conversation. People don't understand this, right? Look at how many big dynamic parts of this are on the collective bargaining table. You were talking about an international draft where players don't no longer have the ability to have handshake agreements with teams at 13, 14, and 15 years old.
Which I like.
Those are dead.
Mm-hmm.
But the baseball is going to be like, push back, because then that adds to my revenue cost, right? Because you had Major League Baseball coming in and saying, yo, we want to do this for 191 million, and the union says, oh, we only want to do this for 260. There's a divide right there. We can't even get the money right to figure out how we're going to do this. You feel like there is a divide right there. The union doesn't know what it wants to do. Baseball doesn't know what it wants to do. You can't even agree to the money? And something as simple as small as a draft? How am I supposed to agree to a new infrastructure in terms of pay scale? How are we agreeing to split up this revenue for TV money?
Right. More serious things. Yeah.
What? And you want me to believe that we're playing baseball in 2027 where you don't even have the balls to negotiate with each other now? Ivan, we're doing this in February of 2025. They have not had one meeting where they sat down and said something to each other face to face.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're in March. We're in March, but I get the point. Right.
March, excuse me. We're at the beginning of March. This CBA runs through 2026, and you guys don't even want to sit down and have a conversation now? With all the money that you're about to lose? Think about that, bro. They're losing money by the day.
So it sounds like they're waiting until the final year, or maybe not even the final year, maybe the last couple months of that deal, bro, to then sit down.
No, they're not even doing that. They're like, fuck it. The budget's going to run out. We're going into a lockout. Tony Clark said as much today. Fuck it. We're not negotiating until we absolutely have to, because I don't like y'all and y'all don't like us.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how crazy that is, bro.
Mm-hmm.
How jubilant, how petulant, how stupid they both look.
Yeah.
You got a full year and a half and you don't even want to talk? What?
This is scary, man. No baseball until at least mid-2028. Damn.
Yo, hold on.
That's a year and a half, dude. Like,
yo, think about this. Hold on, Kim. All right. Yo.
So I'm curious though, right? So if that happens, what happens with like other things that relate to Major League Baseball? Like the video games, or is that still being put out, or is that like that comes to an end as well?
No, because the union has to agree to have their likeness as a part of the game, which is part of the CBA.
Exactly. Right.
So no.
Wow.
The All-Star game would be canceled.
That I know. Right.
The TV revenue would have to be made up somehow.
They're lucky. They're lucky the WBC is next year, because had it not been next year, then there would be no WBC.
Son.
That's gonna be fun, by the way. But you know, we're on a serious topic right now.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You know what? You know what hurts me deep down inside is I want to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be wrong. I want to be the guy that says, "Yo, my fault. I got that wrong. Y'all can kill me in the chat. I'm here for it." Ivan, come on, bro. How long me and you been doing this together? How long? When something comes out like this, why? What are we doing?
So I want to highlight this comment real quick by Emilio. He says this is why 94 hurt baseball. So here's the thing, Emilio, and I'm glad you made that comment. And for those of you who remember 94 and what that was like, I don't remember because I was born in 94. So thank you for people like Emilio who tune into 27 outs.
OG member
baseball,
right there, bro.
Baseball is a dying sport,
yes.
Right? And it wasn't really that in 1994 just yet.
Right.
So if this lockout is going to be as bad as what some people are saying here tonight, then what does that mean for baseball moving forward? if you're already a sport that people are not watching, what's gonna happen after the fact?
Hold on. Razor,
I'm scared.
we're gonna get to your Manfred point in 1 second, but because I wanted to get to this. I'm not gonna yell when I say this because I don't want to sound like Stephen A. Smith. I'm gonna speak monotone and normal. All
It
right.
doesn't sound like anything good is gonna come out of this for the
No, no.
sport.
Just think about this. They had record revenue numbers this year. Baseball made $12.1 billion as an industry. The television ratings were up 432%. You heard what I just said? The television ratings were up 432%. And we are sitting here right now and we are openly wondering, yo, are they going to throw it away? Is this what's about to happen? And the answer I have for you right now is a flat out yes. And they don't care who they hurt along the way. Because when people say, oh, but what about the fans? Oh, but what about the fans? Oh, but what about the fans? They don't give a fuck about the fans.
Yeah, they don't care about us, not at all.
They don't care about the fans because if they cared about the fans, how do you let the shot clock run out with a year and a half still left? How do you not sit down for the betterment of your game and say, you know what, man? Let's do this, man. We made more money than we knew what to do with last year as an industry. You got Shohei making $700 million. You got O'Neal Cruz making all this money. You got all these guys making all this money, and you're gonna walk away for greed? And then you tell me you care about the fans? This is worse than 94. You know why it's worse than 94? Because there's alternatives now. There's alternatives. People don't if the pandemic showed us anything, there's alternatives to different things that we used to love to do. If baseball's struggling to maintain an audience now, can you imagine what it's going to do post strike?
That's what I'm saying. I can only imagine if it's not a sport that people are looking to watch unless you genuinely enjoy. Or and this is big because a lot of casual viewers, they say, oh, well, I only watch when dudes are hitting a bunch of home runs.
Right.
But outside of those two reasons, nobody else really watches baseball.
And
so if you're talking about going into a lockout where there's a possibility of not having any baseball action at all for a year, that's a serious problem.
See, this is what's going to end up happening, right? Can I forecast this? The U.S. government's going to get involved in this.
Really? Speaking of the U.S. government, how about Trump trying to get Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame?
All right, so listen to what I'm telling you.
And I'm sure Trump might have something to say if there's a lockout. He might say like, oh, this is ridiculous.
No, of course.
Like the two of you have to just shut up and come to an
get
agreement.
A fucking deal done and stop being little bitches.
Right.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. The government's going to get involved. Because if Manfred and Clark can't get together and their lawyers can't get together, they're going to hire a legal arbitrator to do this. There's going to be somebody who's a legal arbitrator who is going to get involved in this, who is going to say to both sides, yo, you have to do this. Like, you have to help us reach the pinnacle of whatever this means.
Right. It's ultimately like somebody making a decision that neither one of them can come to, right?
Yeah, and the last thing you want is for your meal to be decided for you. Now, since y'all motherfuckers can't play nice, now I got to bring out the belt and start whipping both sides of y'all asses until we get somewhere. This is going to be bad, man. This is going to be really, really, really bad. And
I wonder if players now and teams as well are going to start panicking, and I wonder if teams are going to start just giving out like these long-term deals to young players just to sort of like keep them locked up. And I wonder if players are going to agree to those offers just so that they don't have to see what's on the other side of this lockout moving forward.
Hold on, bro. Put that comment up by Razor real quick. Hold on, bro. Wait, what? Yo,
That's true.
this is an even bigger problem because you're talking about now you don't even have the same vision for your sport. Both sides don't even know, yo, what does it look like? What does the future of the game look like? One side wants a cap, one side doesn't. One side wants the freedom for the players to do and say more things and to be more vocal. One side is like, oh hell no, because you're violating baseball rules. One side is like, yo, I want to keep it this way. One side is like, nah, I want to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
You're struggling, and here's what I'm gonna tell you. It's only gonna change. It's only gonna change. First of all, why is Tony Clark still representing these players? Get Tony Clark the fuck up out of here. Where's Curtis Granderson at? Where's CC Sabathia at?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Prince Field at? Where? Hold on, I could give you a list of names. Where
Or
we
like
at?
you said, get one of these Latinos in there, right? Like get a Albert Pujols in there, get a
Word.
Carlos Beltran, somebody
Where is
who could relate to the guys who play
both
today.
sides? Yo, where's a Carlos Beltran at? Get Carlos Beltran in there. Get somebody in there that speaks player. Fucking Tony Clark is as old as dirt. What the fuck are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is too, yo, get a player in there that looks like them. Pujols is perfect. Carlos Pena is perfect. I got one for you. He'll never do it because of the headache. Big Papi.
Right.
Get Big Papi could walk in there and he could charm a dead rat. The dead rat will start walking when Big Papi starts talking.
Poppy probably doesn't want to deal with that.
He don't want to do it.
He's having more fun at 5.
Right. Pouring liquor in people's water bottles.
He's actually aging slowly working at Fox, whereas if he worked for Major League Baseball, he'll age quickly.
Forget it. Like Cameron Mabry, Chad brings up in the chat. That's an interesting name.
Cameron Mabry, yeah, he's another guy who I think a lot of players rock with today.
My guy, the guy I really want is Curtis Granderson. Curtis Granderson knows, yo, I've been on both sides. I worked in TV. He's done initiatives with the commissioner's office. He's done all this type of stuff. I want 2 guys in this room if I'm a player. Curtis Granderson. I want 3 guys. Curtis Granderson, Albert Pujols, and CC Sabathia. Those are the guys I want talking for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a player, those are the guys you want talking for you. You don't want fucking Tony Clark, whose beard is as gray as my hair. You got to go, dude. Get the
especially one name that really stands out to me is CC, right? Because CC, when he was a player, I should say, and shout out to him for making it to the Hall of Fame, but CC Sabathia was one of those guys where I kind of feel like if you were to have a conversation in the locker room as a team, and if somebody were to say like, yo, we're doing like X, Y, and Z, CC would be like the first man in line, like, oh, you said what? Like, I'll be the guy to start it up and the rest of you can follow if we're that serious.
So, but the reason why I like the CC idea, right? The CC idea makes perfect sense. Because you know what CC's gonna do in this room? You know, if somebody says something that gets out of line, you know, and we're gonna get to your Manford point in a sec, Raise, I promise. You know what CC's gonna do? What the fuck you said, bro?
Check him.
We said we doing this and this, and no, the fuck we not. Which is why CC doesn't want to do games. CC doesn't want to do nothing like that because CC is from Vallejo, California. That's an Oakland boy right there. You said what, cuz? Fuck you talking about? Nah, let me go back with my players. We'll get back with y'all. If this lockout goes as
See, but here's the thing though, and I don't want to act like I'm trying to come from the standpoint of like it won't work out, but
do it
doesn't that make things more difficult then? Because
for who?
if you're if you have someone in line like that, like you want somebody to represent the players in
Right,
that way, but when
right,
it comes to a lockout, having the conversations that need to be had, in
right,
terms
right,
of coming to an agreement,
right.
doesn't that make things harder though? Because at that point, you're not really going to align with anything that Major League Baseball is putting out there.
See, but this is the thing, right? That's why I'm gonna tell you this, right? Rob Manfred, he retires in 2029. I'm gonna say something bold right now. This point, this point, this point is a perfect point. That's a perfect point by Razor.
Right.
I just want a guy in there that's gonna be able to communicate with both sides and ain't gonna be afraid to back down. Rob Manfred might lose his job because of this.
So you think he'll have to leave sooner instead of when the contract is up?
The owners might fire him.
Wow.
Because you know what happens when we go through an extended lockout? No money goes in my pocket. No gate. Nobody coming to the ballpark. I lose money. I have to maintain upkeep of these franchises, and I can't just. I'm not Steve Cohen. Most of these owners are barely billionaires,
Mm-hmm.
and you want me to lose money because y'all can't come to an agreement? Yo, Manfred, you out of here, dog. No matter how much of the owner's bidding he may be doing, the owners still understand this is a bottom line business. Which is why I don't understand that you guys could help me if you think I'm wrong. I wonder why these owners just don't talk to these players straight up and say, "Yo, what do you guys think?" And let's tell us what we thinking, and let's have a conversation amongst ourselves. Let's not let Tony Clark get in the middle. Let's not let all these teams get in the middle. Let's have, you know what I would do? Because I think it's gonna work better if you have smaller groups, right? I don't like that the fact that there's 30 player reps and one representative for each team. What I would do, I'd pick 10 players and I pick 10 owners and I leave them in the room and I tell Manfred, you get the fuck out of here. And Tony Clark, you get the fuck out of here. Listen, we need to talk to each other face to face and man to man. What do you want? What do we want? Can we meet somewhere in the middle? And let's talk about what it is that you want to do. Here's another problem. The owners know that they're making this money, right? They don't want to open up their books, right? Because the owner's been crying for the last several years. Oh, we're losing money. We're losing money. We're losing money. Owners don't want to open up their books. And the owners know they don't want to open up their books, which is why there's a significant hesitancy to say, damn, do we really want to open up our books? Do we really want to have deep-rooted conversations as to what this really all means? No. You know why? Because it exposes their own business practices, the shit that they're doing amongst each other. Who's pocketing the revenue sharing money? Who's actually spending that money? Who's on?
So here's what I'm trying to understand, right? So I'm listening to everything that you're saying, Stefan, and shout out to you again, Emilio. I'm still reading your comments. He mentioned that Bud Selig ended up keeping his job after
in
'94.
94. Mm-hmm.
But here's my thing, right? If you're Major League Baseball, and obviously we all know what it was that helped out Major League Baseball after '94, the steroid era, right? Which surprisingly Major League Baseball likes to frown upon now, when back then they were like, oh my gosh, thank you for making us relevant again. But anyway, I want to know, with this lockout being, if not as serious, maybe even more serious than the one in that year,
Yes.
what is Major League Baseball going to do to bounce back? Because we're now in a very different generation, right? Like, that time was pre-internet, pre-social media, so many things that are a part of our everyday lives now, correct?
Yep.
Like, what is Major League Baseball And we may not have the answer for that now, but I am genuinely interested to know what is Major League Baseball going to do after this to save the sport. Because it's not like people are going to flock to baseball games and start watching and broadcasting baseball games from, or not broadcasting, but streaming rather, baseball games from like every damn near platform that exists. Because you've got so many other things that could keep you occupied, right? You've got your TikToks, you got all these other platforms that people use every single day. So what is going to make you stand out? That's going to make the younger demographic, especially because, listen, maybe we like the abuse, Stefan, but you and I, we're going to go right back when things kick off. And it's like, all right, here we are yet again. And some of you might do the same exact thing. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. We love the sport that much. But what about for the masses? Like, what are we going to like inject another steroid era, or like what's going to happen? I really want to know. Nah, not enough. Juice Ball's not going to do it, bro.
So here's my thought process. My thought process of what this is why this lockout can't happen in the first place.
And because we already know about that. Sorry, Stefan, but we already know about that, Rick. Whereas the steroid era, I'm sure there were people who were probably on
and
previously
didn't say shit and didn't say nothing. Yeah,
we caught on long
later
after
on.
the fact. Whereas the Juice Balls, and they've got videos and tons of content on this stuff already. Like, it was a real thing. I don't think so, bro. We live in a very different time, Rick. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I'm doing right now, Razor? Like, I'm stepping away from
the fan in me and trying to figure out.
I'm like removing that completely. And I'm like, yo, what can this sport do to really get eyeballs to watch?
Well, this is but then this goes back to the fairness of the sport, which is
I don't think they can do it. And for those of you who are like listening to what we're talking about these comments here by Rick, right?
So
I don't think they can do it. I don't think so. I think things are only gonna get worse.
Ultimately, what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna have to add more gimmicks. You're gonna have to add challenges in games, and all these different things that are going to change the way we look at baseball, because the sport already is too slow. You're going to have to speed it up. The game's going to have to be faster in a lot of ways, where there's going to be a lot more gimmicks, robot umpires, and different dimensions of how you watch the game, and cameramen on the field, and cameras in the helmets, and cameras on the catcher's gear, and cameras in cameras basically everywhere. Like a camera on the mound. The back of the mound is going to have a camera. So you see the pitcher going through that windup, the delivery, an earpiece that only the people on TV can hear. Yo, I'm throwing a 3-2 slider. Let's see if he swings for it. Like, you're going to have to get way more gimmicky so that the general public can say, oh, this is cool. They're giving us some real behind the scenes. And baseball players themselves are also going to have to get to a point where we might not be able to be as private with our lives as we once were in the past. We might have to be more open, like basketball players, starting more podcasts, going on the national media, having conversations about how to grow the game, putting more baseball fields in the inner city, being a more inclusive towards, because baseball is expensive. Baseball is expensive. A bat, a glove, cleats, playing for leagues, it is expensive. And not the XFL. I mean, at that point,
make the WBC every two.
You know what I would do? I would have the All-Star break be 2 weeks long, and I would have something called, you see how hockey just had the 4 nations? The WBC now replaces the All-Star game every year, and you play something called the 8 Nations Tournament. It's a single elimination tournament, and you replace the All-Star game with an international tournament that you play during mid-season. You got to generate revenue somehow. You have to generate interest somehow. You have to be willing to think outside the box. Will people do it? Probably not. Will owners be pissed off at the idea that we're letting our best players go to play in this tournament mid-season? I mean, you might not have a choice. There might be some things that you have to do that's a little unconventional. Like, listen, I'm gonna be honest. The WBC every 4 years is a mistake. That needs to be every year or every other year.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that. I was waiting for you to finish your point, Stefan, but I think that, and I've thought about this for a couple of years now. Like, I didn't just think about this for the first time now here
No,
tonight with you guys, but the WBC being every 4 years, I'm not a big fan of that, man.
no,
Especially for how exciting it is for some of these countries to be able to see some of their favorite players suit up for the same exact team, and for that to only be something that they can watch every 4 years.
hmm
Like, are we serious?
and also too, right? Like, if we want to be serious, like there has to be some things where you might have to shorten the game. Maybe 7 innings is the way to go. Maybe a 9 inning game is just too passe. And as much as I hate it, maybe 21 and maybe 7 out game is 7 inning game is where you go. Games are shorter. You get to the point faster. You know what I'm saying? Less pitching changes.
Yeah. And it's I know a lot of these things may sound crazy to you guys who are watching, but it's gonna become something that may be realistic at some point. Because I know Rick mentioned the juice balls and bringing that back. I just don't see Major League Baseball being able to bounce back in a positive way.
No,
Could you bounce back and have yet another season and you deal with things up until the next time you negotiate? Sure. We're living through that right now, for example.
right.
But at the end of the day, man, they got to get creative. Creativity is going to play a big part.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Mercy rules after 6 innings, maybe like softball, where if you score 10 runs in the game before the 6th inning, you automatically win. That might be a thing that has to do because here's the reality of it. The reality of the situation is we're dealing with a generation who has shorter attention spans. They want the 20-minute clip on the 10-minute clip on YouTube, get the highlights, and get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't dealing with a generation that wants to sit there for 9, 10, 11 innings.
And
Nah.
that's why I referenced a few times already here tonight what Emilio had been saying in the chat, because we're talking about two different times in life, period.
And here's the
Like, if,
thing.
if we were talking about '04 rather than 94, then maybe. But we're talking about a 30
Yo,
plus year difference, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, life has changed, man. And
so
what
drastically.
baseball did once upon a time doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work now, because there are so many outlets when it comes to just being entertained. And I don't see it being a problem for many people to not have baseball on their list, because right now, a lot of people don't have baseball on their list.
You know what's gonna end up happening too? I'm gonna tell you this right now. Games are gonna start ending like home run derby style.
You could see that.
What?
Wow.
Watch. And I'm gonna tell
See,
you
that would be a little too much for me as a baseball fan, because I feel like at that point you're really tapping into like All-Star game, like regular season games, and for me it's too much.
it
But
might have to go that way. Or here's the other thing: the man for man might exist in the playoffs. Get these playoff games over with quicker, a little bit more action. Yo, man for man starts at second base. You know what I mean? Like we have to do things so this generation doesn't say, "Oh, this shit is too long." I'm not saying do a 3 hour game, and yet we say everything that's wrong with the sport. And how do we start this conversation? Baseball as an industry, their ratings were up 932%. They had a record revenue numbers at $12.1 billion as an
yeah,
industry.
but we know where that's coming from at the end of the day. Like
It
a
doesn't
majority of it, like especially when you look at the increase, like
right.
the spike more than anything else, we know where that is coming from.
That's a fair point, but at the end of the day, it's still a spike nonetheless. So do you want to take the good that you started to do, especially in Japan and the international market, and shit all over that for your own personal satisfaction and say we stuck it to these players? The players are your constituency. If the players aren't being used to their best of their ability and they feel like they're being shafted, at the end of the day, you lose. Which is why I said on previous shows and I said on the last show we did, if you don't have the money and the financial resources to keep up with the team, sell the team. Sell it. But I also think that we also have to get younger with the broadcasters we put in here. Oh shit, look who's in the building. We were just talking about him. He's,
Oh, Shrek, yo, I'm glad you're here, bro.
you know what I
I
mean?
mean, we aren't gonna be here for all that long because we are at the 2 hour mark now. But Shrek, just to kind of fill you in, and I mentioned you earlier tonight because I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Mike Moustakis, retirement and whatnot. But we're on a different topic now. But leave a comment and respond to that, please, if you can.
For sure. So ultimately, right, I think I think baseball has to get real with we have to get people in here who understand what's at stake for this game, right? Like you might have to have a couple of executive vice presidents like they do in the NBA who meet with Adam Schefter on these issues, whether it's Chris Paul, LeBron James, and all these guys who meet with the commissioner face to face behind closed doors and try to come up with ways to better the league. The thing I don't like about baseball is why is everything so public? When one side speaks, why does one outlet have it before we even get a chance to say booey? Why are we not being quiet? Why are we not being sound in our approach in terms of our negotiation tactics to tell each other, you know what, boys, let's just be as quiet as we can be to try and do what's best for the sport. Why is everything so loud?
Mhm.
That's my problem. Where like when the NBA is negotiating, they negotiate, they don't say a single word. By the time you know it, you know their last three CBAs, there hasn't been a public word about it because it's been done during the season. Like they get together All-Star Weekend, Adam Silver's there, all the players are there. Yo, Adam, let's nail this next CBA down, bro. We out here for a couple days. We get to talking. By the time the next season ends, all right, cool. Yo, remember where we were at when we? All right, let's finish this up. The NBA hasn't had a work stoppage in, I think, going on. The last work stoppage was in 2011 because they got a healthy relationship and they respect each other. And you could say, well, the players are using Adam Silver, which is true because they're making more money than they should. But what the fuck? There's NBA games on every night. There's
Right.
NBA playoff games on every night. We don't sit in there wondering if the NBA is going to have a come to Jesus. We don't, because these the league and the owners and everybody knows we're not here to see fucking Jim Dolan. We're here to see Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns.
And the difference between the NBA and Major League Baseball too is, see, in the case of Major League Baseball, the spike especially that I was just referring to a couple of minutes ago, I kind of feel like that comes from like overseas and especially the Japanese market,
Right.
with guys like Otani, Yamamoto, Sasaki, and
Right.
several others that are now in the league. But the difference in the NBA is you've got so many different superstars that
Right.
fans genuinely love. Like the
Right.
most obvious one, we've been hearing about him now for 20 plus years, LeBron James, right?
Still
But
doing it.
outside of LeBron, you got Curry, you got Giannis, you got Luca,
Luca.
and you got this guy. Like the list is so long. Whereas for Major League Baseball, if you're a guy like myself or Stefan or some of you guys here who are watching right now, you know of a list just as long as the NBA one, but for Major League Baseball. But for the masses, realistically speaking, you could probably count on like one or two hands, like the amount of players that some of these people know,
So
honestly.
think about it. You just went through LeBron, Luca, and all those dudes. You got Ant-Man in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
You got Devin Booker in Phoenix. You got Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland in Cleveland. You got Tatum and Brown in Boston. You got Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. Kill it right now.
Right. I knew I was missing a couple of guys, but just
Right?
off the top
The
of my
guy,
head.
you got a young baller in Jalen Green with the Houston Rockets. Right? Nikola Jokic in Denver. Kill it. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City. Kill it.
And these are household names where if you mention those names,
Illin.
9 out of 10 people probably are like, oh, yeah, like I know who he is.
Like you even know who a Kate Cunningham is in Detroit. Killing for the Pistons right now.
Right.
Killing. Baseball, we go through this. We recycle the same names: Judge, Otani, Freeman, Betts,
Right. Trout.
Trout,
Yeah,
Witt,
that's it.
friggin'
And Bobby Witt just entered that conversation too, by the way. Yeah.
Jose Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got to even guess to get to a few other names.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Where
Like it's a huge problem.
we just rattled off 10 and we just rattled off 20 NBA names in markets where you wouldn't even think that they would be known, and they're known.
Mm-hmm. Not just here in the States, but worldwide.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not an Atlanta Brave fan and you don't love baseball, do you know who Ronald Acuna is? Do you know who Ozzy Albies is? Do you know who J-Rod is? If you're not a Mariner fan?
So I want to bring up this comment here real quick because it relates to what we're talking about. You're right, Rick. They don't know neither guy like they do LeBron James, but that's why we made that list, because it shows that Major League Baseball, while they may have the guys in the sport, in terms of them being able to broadcast those guys to the masses, to the overseas, to whatever you want to call it, I don't know what they do. It's just not good enough. It's not.
You know what it is? Because these baseball players are too private. Yo, I don't want to talk to the media. Yo, I don't want to deal with the media. Yo, I don't want to start my own podcast. I want to play baseball. I want to go home. You know why? It's too many goddamn games. Shorten the season. Make these players more accessible. Play 120 games. But why is it that we got to struggle to see listen, why is it that we got to struggle to see Shohei Ohtani? Sure, the Dodgers should be on national TV twice a week. You see what the NBA does? You got Luka Doncic and LeBron James on national TV 3 times a week. Look at the Knicks, for example. You know who the Knicks' next 2 games are? They got the Lakers on Tuesday night, next Tuesday, or tomorrow, matter of fact. And then on Thursday, they go see Steph and the Warriors. TNT games back to back. You get to see Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns versus the 2 OGs of the league. Arenas are going to be full. It's New York. It's Los Angeles. It's New York. It's Golden State. It's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Why is the first Yankee Dodger game on Apple TV?
That's a problem. Apple TV is not on the, like, here's my thing too, Stefan, right? If you're going to do it like that, if you're going to put it on one of the streaming services that are available to us today, why not do it on one that is at least more well-known? I'm sorry. We all know what Apple is by now, but not everybody knows what Apple TV is. I'm sorry. We just don't.
I saw that and I was like, wait. You're putting the first Yankee Dodger game on a Friday night on Apple TV? Are you out of your mind?
Or to make things better, rather than Apple TV, rather than any of these streaming services, how about this? Yo, throw it up there on Fox. Make it real simple. Everybody knows Fox.
Yo, dude.
Even the old heads, they know how to find their way to Fox.
Yo, put the game on Fox. Started at like 9:30. Get the local news out the way, and let's get busy. You got the first Yankee Dodger game on Apple TV? Why?
That's bad, man. I thank you for mentioning that, Stephen, because I didn't know. It's not a surprise, but now that I actually know the truth, not a big fan of that. And this right here, Rick, thank you for leaving this comment, proves our point. Thank you so much. This is exactly why we are having this conversation right now.
Right.
Because we're talking about a sport that is already not doing a good job at what we're talking about.
And here's the other thing.
How in the hell are you going to do an even better job with the many different options that are out there?
That's the thing.
Just that could catch your eye. Like you're going up against so many different things versus, as Emilio mentioned a couple times here tonight, 94.
Yo, think about this, right? It's so bad for baseball. We can't even think of 10 star players that play baseball. You know how many role players I can think of in the NBA that the average basketball fan knows?
Right.
Clay Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Uh you got guys like you got, for example, everybody knows who the Williams brothers in Oklahoma City. They're both named Jalen. One comes off the bench, one starts. If you ask a basketball fan, they know who that is. For example, they know who the fuck Tristan Thompson is because she slept with a Kardashian. You know what I'm
Interesting. Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Tristan, they know who he is, right? Like everybody know who JJ Redick is because JJ had his own pod. Old Man and Three played for Duke, played for championship teams. You know who these guys are, right? Like if you're an NBA fan, you know who Tyler Hero is, Bam Adebayo. Like you know who these guys are. That's another thing.
You know what I
Baseball.
think it is too, man? Major League Baseball is late to a lot of this stuff too.
I
Because you
agree with
mentioned
you.
something a few minutes ago regarding like the podcasting that former athletes and current athletes are doing, especially in the NBA now more than ever. Major League Baseball really only has a handful of guys. I think like Mookie Betts has one. I think
Right.
recently not Mike Mustakis, Eric Hosmer.
Yeah,
He started one, but
Moonball. He started his
there
own
there
podcast.
aren't many though. Not
Mhm.
many.
So you know what's crazy? Speaking of podcasts, you know who the roommate's next guest is? Jim Dolan. They got Jim Dolan to do an interview on their podcast.
Who's the roommates?
Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart
Oh, okay. Yes. Wow. I've tuned
got
into before.
the Knicks owner to do a interview on their pod.
That's
Jim
gonna be
Dolan
big.
Jim Dolan doesn't talk to the media. You understand what I'm telling you? He
Right,
don't talk
right.
to the media. He don't like the media. He don't
It
fuck with the
talks like
media.
once every like few years.
4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta go through clips just to remember what his voice sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
They got Jim Dolan do a podcast, guys. How is it that Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole doesn't have a Yankee podcast? Their first guest is not Hal Steinbrenner.
Mm-hmm.
You know how excited Yankee fans would be if you put those two behind a mic and said, yo, go interview the owner.
Right?
Huh? What?
Right.
Yo, dog. You got Udonis Haslam and all these old heads with podcasts. Gilbert Arenas out here killing in the podcast game. Gilbert Arenas from his podcast just got a contract with ESPN.
Yeah, I saw him on First Take the other day.
Son, come on, bro. How is Major League Baseball not having each podcast have their own with two players? Yo, y'all pick the player you want.
Right.
They represent us.
I
They
don't
have a
think it's
podcast.
something that they'll never do. I just think it's something that they're gonna do later rather than, when
it's too late.
It's the norm, yeah.
But it's too late. You should have been doing this now to drum up interest because baseball is a game of personal stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal to fans because it's a regional game.
Right.
So if I can hear from my stars at least once a week, yo, like, what is it like going through a season? And you don't got to hear from the media jargon. Aaron Judge could get on the mic and tell you, yo, that flight fucked me up last night. I was trying to sleep. We hit turbulence. I was done. I got in the hotel room at 4 a.m. No wonder why you went 1 for 3 and looked like you couldn't hit the fucking side of a barn if it was in your face because you had a moment. You had a moment. You know why we fell in love? We fall in love with this Knicks team? Because you know how many times Josh Hart didn't say, yo, I fucked up. I yelled at a referee. I told him to go fuck himself because he got a call wrong. And Jalen's like, I was trying to tell you, come on, man. You can't be yelling at these. And that's how you make the team, the fan base love you.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Mike Trout not talking on an Angel Pod? Yo, how good of a man is Juan Washington? What is your conversation with Artie Moreno like heading into each offseason? Or do you even talk? Do you even have a relationship with Artie Moreno? What the fuck? What are we doing? How are you not putting Jazz Chisholm in a room with a podcast mic and fucking I don't know, put Chisholm and Volpe in a room together. Let them talk. Put Bobby Witt and Pasquantino in the room together. Let them talk. Let them talk. How is Tariq Skubal not podcasting? Not every week, but on the days he starts, he doesn't talk. All right, cool, I get it. Off days you can't record a 40-minute pod.
Baseball is outdated. It's an outdated sport. That's for sure. Especially when you look at the times that we live in today and where the world is at now. Yeah, and it's been like that for a while now. Actually,
yo, I'm sitting here like, yo, we're giving you keys to the kingdom, and you sitting here playing.
Right, that's true.
I hate y'all, man. Anyway, this was fun, yo. I can't believe we went this long, but it's an anniversary special. So
you know what I forgot to wear? I'm gonna wear it now since we're about to wrap up. But I had this. I can't do it. I can't do it with the headphones on. But I bought this happy birthday hat. I didn't want to wear it throughout the show because I know that would have been a distraction for you guys.
Yo, you look
here
crazy.
It is.
You look crazy.
Yo, listen, man. Today is one of them days. This isn't something that you'll see often. I'll tell you
that. Yo, you look crazy. Yo, somebody get a screenshot of that and send it to us. I love to
post pictures in while you can.
Social media. Yo, somebody take a screenshot, please. I'm dying.
Yeah, I should have worn it sooner.
Yo,
I just looked to my right, and you know what's crazy? I had it out already. I wasn't gonna wear it at the I wasn't gonna wear it at the top of the show, but I was really like so interested in the conversations that we had, especially like the last two, I would say. So I was like, you know what? Let me just throw it on right now.
You're a sicko, bro.
Happy birthday to 27 outs, bro. I truly mean that, for real,
man.
1 year old.
Oh man,
that's this right here. I would never want to see Shrek. He said a Max Scherzer and a Bo Bichette podcast.
Oh my god,
no.
You know what I would do, yo? Have a podcast in Spanish.
They actually do have that. So let me tell you something. I didn't know this up until maybe a few weeks ago because I didn't have my eyes on this stuff. Because a lot of these guys who are doing the interviews, I don't know who they are. The players that they invite on to talk for sure. But other than that, I don't really know much. But the Latin community has been doing a lot of interviews with the Latino ball players. And I wish I knew what some of these guys, names were that are on the mics and the name of the shows. I don't know, but shout out to a few of my boys, Manny, Aristides, Andy. They share links with me, and I watch them from time to time, but there's starting to be like a wave now where the Latinos are starting to like jump on that wave, and the Americans aren't really doing it when it comes to baseball just yet. Or at least not how they should. And we were just talking about that.
And that's why channels like ours has to be the thing that you get to do where you expose what's wrong with the game. As much as we love it, there's stuff that's wrong with the game of baseball. There's stuff that's wrong with it. And it ain't going to get better if we just keep letting the same shit happen over and over and over again.
And the problem is, too, when, I know I just mentioned what I said a few seconds ago, but just to add on to that, I think the players who show up on those platforms feel more comfortable, doing the interviews, having the conversations, talking about their careers, the ins, the outs, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between with those people more rather than sitting down with somebody who's from the States.
I'm going to be honest with you. You know what baseball needs? We need a baseball equivalent of like a Drink Champs. With during
that would be great. Honestly, man, I would love to see that. But at the same time, I feel like people would talk about things that should not be talked about.
See, that's what's wrong. There should not be a fourth wall. You guys
would you let me actually paint the picture real quick. Could you imagine you have somebody who played during the steroid era?
Yo,
they hop on this show that you talk about and they get lit. I mean, lit like never before.
What?
And they end up sharing stories like, yo, I remember playing with the Rangers, and A-Rod was in the clubhouse
He,
before game.
he took a needle straight to the ass.
Yeah, dude. Like, you get what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like, it could really be so ugly.
Yo,
But that would be great at the same time. I think that would do really good numbers, I think.
yo, son.
Oh, look right here. Shout out to my boy Manny. Manny, thank you for that. So this is one of the names. Thank you. I don't know the names. I couldn't have even taken a guess. But that's one right there.
Manny with the jumper in the clutch.
That's one right there for sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yo, dog. Just imagine just imagine yo Manny with the bang in the clutch, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine Ozzy Guillen hosting that show. Because Ozzy don't give a fuck. Ozzy's like Nori. Put Ozzy Guillen on the show and have somebody be Ozzy's like sidekick, like EFN is for Nori.
Right.
And you just like, yo, you invite players to come down. You heard they have a convo. You get a little litty. Yo, I was playing with this player. Yo, you believe this nigga? He drunk 12 beers. He went out and he pitched a no hitter.
Right. I would love to see that.
Man,
okay. I see.
see, but here's the problem with that. We're living in a society where homosexuality is acceptable. If we still being homophobic like we in the 1960s, and baseball's already dead.
Right.
Because I guarantee you there's one gay person on each member at each clubhouse. So now you have to hide it because you're afraid of reprisal. You're afraid of being judged for having your own sexuality and expressing yourself.
And those people, I'm sure, still live in fear, even though
You
it's,
fucking
more.
What are we doing?
More of the norm now, even though it really isn't, especially when you're one of them, I can imagine.
That's kind of pathetic. I'm going to be honest with you. That's fucking sad.
Yeah.
How we got to sit here and play like it's 1960, like there aren't people that are different than us.
Right, right.
What the fuck are we doing?
You know what's funny too? Speaking of the homophobic and things, I'm not throwing no shade at all by saying this. I actually still support him to this day. I always have, even going back to our college days. But you remember Lamarck?
Yeah.
Lamarck okay, so he's still doing his podcast thing.
Yeah.
But he had appeared on, I believe, DJ Self's show on Power 105.1
here in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were having a.
For anybody that's not listening in New York, that's a hip hop radio station here in New York
Right.
City.
So Lamarck was on his show, and I forgot the topic, but they were talking about something, and there was a dude who just so happened to also be on the mic. It wasn't DJ Self, but some other dude there, and he was just saying like these outlandish things, and it's like, dude, I get it, but you cannot go about it that way, bro. You got to respect these people first and foremost.
Yep.
Like, what happened to enjoying what you like and other people being able to enjoy what they like and not getting involved, not overstepping? Like, come on, man.
But that's the thing. Everybody wants to police everybody else. Yo, you can't say this because if you say this, then you might offend this side. And if the problem is, and we getting out of here on this, problem is we've gotten away from just allowing ourselves to express oneself because we're afraid of being judged for the thoughts that we may have. If you're going to judge me, you never intended to sit down with me and have a full-fledged conversation in the first place, right? Because if that was the case, I wouldn't be sitting on this microphone right now because people could easily say, well, you're in a wheelchair. You never play baseball. Why are we listening to you? Why do we have to hear from you? You're never going to play a game. You're never going to be impactful to the sport. What makes you so otherworldly and knowledgeable when it comes to this? See, it could be the spectrum can go a many number of ways where we have to be more at least willing to listen. Not all full on inclusive because everybody has a limit and I understand. But at least let's listen to what other people might have to say because you might learn something instead of going in with a preconceived notion.
Right, right. Especially an outdated one, one that was, I guess, normal for the time being. But of course, not anymore.
Yeah, no, and it sucks, man. And baseball is already losing ground with the younger demographic, and maybe that's the reason why when you hear stories about how people feel about homophobia in clubhouses.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know how hazing is in the minor leagues and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
there could be hazing that goes on that we have no idea of, but they can't speak because fear of being judged.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fucking sad, man, that we live in a society that got to be so damn uppity. Oh, you can't do this. You can't. Man, the fuck? And that's why the shows like ours exist, because we're going to tell the truth, even if it gets us in trouble. So,
That's true. All right. One last friendly reminder before we go. We did 2 hours and a half today, man.
oh my
That's
God.
I don't think we've done that yet on the show. Other
No,
than like watch alongs, because those could go over 3 hours. But
no, yeah.
a regular video like this, nah, man. But today's special.
Yeah.
But anyway, make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at 27 ounce 3C.
Yep.
And for those of you who are watching right now via YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up before we wrap up. And of course, subscribe if you have not already done so. Tonight was fun, man. I enjoyed it. Clearly, you see the hat. We had conversations about so many different things tonight, which is something that I would say we do here on 27 ounce, but not to the extent in which we did it tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But this was fun. Shout out to everyone for rocking with us for as long as you have, and being able to participate, view, however you want to call it, tonight's show, to celebrate the 1 year anniversary with us.
Yeah, man. Special. You guys are special, and you guys are the reason we do this. So come back and check us. I don't know. Depending. Let's talk with Ivan, and we'll see when we get back on the mic.
True. Yeah, we haven't. Well, we're gonna come back this week, that's for sure. But in terms of an exact date,
Nah.
we haven't made an official decision on that yet.
But next video,
you guys will always see us twice a week for sure.
Next video, AL West, man. We're doing the AL West next week. So next video is AL West. So we'll do the AL West. We'll do with other spring training stuff. If any more news comes out, we'll be there to touch on it. But this was fun, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.